one day I'll get this all sorted. There we go. Hello and welcome to Flory Models Q&A show. Here we are on Tuesday the 13th of December 2016 with you, well, whenever we get going, to answer some of your questions that you've posted up. I'll grab a couple off of obviously the YouTube page as well, and there's one or two I've had sent separate, various bits and pieces like that. So, you all right, Steve? How's things going?
Yeah, not so bad. All well up here in the north.
Is it going well? What are you working on?
I'm just putting the finishing touches to the little, what is it, tie interceptor?
Yeah.
That I built last week. So just putting a little bit of highlighting on, and then it's done, really. So
very nice.
Got the wings off, so just finishing up on that. And apart from that, I haven't really done much. I've started a bit of a clear up and declutter, and so I'm gradually working my way around the room. So
that's the thing though, when you start tidying up, you're sort of committed, aren't you? Because you end up moving one bit to another. So yes, very good. Well, okay, well the thing is, this week we've been, hold on, there we go. I've been really busy with all the Star Wars stuff. To be honest, I've got various bits and pieces on the go. I've got the AT-AT legs over there. I've got the AT-AT, which I'm going to do in paint tomorrow afternoon. Down here today, I've actually done a Death Trooper. This will be up with you later on in the week. I've done the review and full build in one. Okay, right the way through for that one. And this little guy, to be honest, he is absolutely stunning. I have to say, I think he's the best one yet. You know, the level of detail and the various bits and pieces that he has, he actually goes together slightly different to the other ones as well. It's just the way he goes. Some of his joints seem to be better. It looks like as they're sort of progressing, they're actually improving the molds and the fits and everything else. Like for instance, the knees are slightly tapered, as in it's not just straight to straight now, so it makes them stand and sort of move better. The shoulder joints, the way the biceps work and everything else, does seem to be a little bit better on these guys, and things like that. So generally, I have to say, very, very impressed with this one. I think he's my favourite so far. Absolute classic. And you get lots of options with him. So you get different armour. So you can either have him with the full sort of chest plates, or with the sort of, you know, the more minimal ones without the webbing and everything else. But you might notice down here he's covered in weapons pouches. He's got like a cummerbund on with there, it looks like extra thermal detonators on there as well, and all the bits and pieces. And you get new types of guns as well. So not only do you get the giant big one like he's got here, but you've got the short one, a blaster one down here as well, which obviously I intend to paint and weather up a little bit later on. But I did him this morning, and I have to say he has been an absolute breeze and a charm. And as I say, slight little differences you see between the first time I did one up to now. They're slightly improving them as they go through. But obviously that's the new one off of Rogue One, and hopefully the Sand Trooper should be here early part of next year. The bigger Stormtrooper that I've got coming, the 1/6 one, which again is by Bandai, that should be here next week. It's on its way. It has been left and winging its way here. The other one, of course, is this guy, the Star Destroyer. The third part of this will be up with you, to be honest, this afternoon. I am still editing it, just doing some final little bits and pieces to it. But again, absolutely fantastic. But what I intend to do is get the AT-AT sort of painted up and everything else, so we can do weathering on it next week. And then I want to do the stands for this one, and obviously my big Star Destroyer on Friday. So sort of a one-day sort of build with that one, but really looking forward to it. It's all been going very, very well. So what have we been doing? Right, okay, so we've got various questions in the forum, so we'll start off with them. First one is from Grant. He says, hello Phil and Steve, hope you're both well. I have both the ICM new release 1/48 scale MiG-25 RT recon version. I also have AMK release 3 versions. I also have AMK releasing 3 versions of the MiG-25 next year. Do you guys see yourself getting any of these to build? It's great to see so many Russian aircraft from different companies making an appearance recently. Yeah, it does seem to be a bit of a flood of them at the moment with all the Russian gear coming on. Don't know, Steve, fancy doing a MiG-25? That's the Foxhound, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not top of my list to do.
No?
No, it's not. I won't say it's on top of my list, no.
I must admit, out of the two, because obviously the MiG-31 and MiG-25 very similar looking beasts, I would rather do the MiG-31 over the MiG-25. And as I say, again, the recon version is the one that just came out, wasn't it? So yeah, they are big. That's the trouble. All the Russian, the MiG-25, MiG-31s are big aircraft, so you need a lot of room to put them. So I've got, as I say, the MiG-31. I've got the aftermarket bits for it as well. I've got the cockpit. John's got me the wheels and the gear set and everything else for it. So I'm doing that one in the new year. So definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot more. There's a lot more kits that are coming out or I've got at the moment that I'd rather build than just, just buying it for the sake of buying it because it's coming out. I think. So yeah, it's not top of my list. I'd say it's about bottom third to build.
Yeah. No, they are nice stuff. I do like the way, because obviously for years the Russian stuff's been much overlooked by the Western stuff, and now, as I say, we've got a really nice Su-27 with the Hobby Boss one, and now obviously we've got nice MiG-31s, MiG-25s, we've got beautiful MiG-29s now, and all the rest of it. So quite frankly, we're being very well covered from the Russian front these days, whereas before, as I said, it was more F-16s and Phantoms and all those types of things. So now it's really looking very good for the actual hobby, but pretty much we're covered. I probably will do the Su-34, even though everyone's making a thing about a song and dance about it still. But again, it'd be one of those things. Now, do you wait and just happen to see if the Kitty Hawk one's any good, and hoping that perhaps they've turned a little bit of a corner, or would you sort of play safe and go with the Hobby Boss one? So yeah. Don't know. Don't fancy doing any of those, Steve?
Well, like I said, I've got the Kinetic 33 to do. I think in the there's someone bringing out a lot of Su-25s as well next year. I think I read somewhere, so I might building one or two of them. But yeah, I won't say I'm not going to build them, but yeah. But also because there's a lot of really nice Russian aircraft coming out. There's also a lot of really nice Russian armour coming out. So I think I'd rather go down the Russian armour side and then just do the odd Russian aircraft that I really like.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay, so Chris says, hi Phil and Steve. As the Big in Japan group build was my first I've participated in. I can't speak today. Can you both explain to me how the group builds work in the end? I've made a build thread, explain a little of what I did and took photos. Now my model is finished. What do I do now? And how do my pictures get in the group build video? Okay, don't do anything. Just remember to make sure you put your final reveal photos in the reveal section on the forum. Okay, that is your technical entry into the group build. What happens is that I usually go through everybody's builds, and then obviously we just make sure that it's a full build, okay, because we have had in the past where somebody puts up a box at the beginning and the final photos at the end, and technically that doesn't qualify as a full build. Now, I'm not that bad about it. I do tend to let a few of them slip because I understand people get carried away with the builds, they forget to take photos or mention it at all, so they are a little bit weak. But in recent years, because there is a certain amount of financial cost doing these things, I tend to be a little bit more tight on the rules. So what we do insist on is obviously there's photos right the way through the build and all the rest of it, and it is completed, okay, at the end. So it's not like and there's a half-built model at the end of it. It has to be fully completed and everything else like that. So that way, that makes it full entry, and then you obviously get the medal, the prizes, and the gifts, and all the bits and pieces that we send out free of charge to you guys. So as long as it's in there, as we're getting the photos, don't worry about that. I've got a lovely little program that takes all your photos clean off of the site, and then I put them into my Sony Vegas, and I put together the end montage videos like that. Usual thing, occasionally I get people say, oh, I didn't like that photo used in my model. It's not my fault. You put them up there, I'll grab it. I will always take the best overalls. There's no point just taking a close-up picture of perhaps, if it's a plane, the cockpit, and then one close-up of a wing. I need an overall shot. So if it's a bad overall shot, I will still use it, because you're only going to get 2 photos per sort of showing of your work, and I want to show people as much as possible instead of just like a tiny little bit. So that's why sometimes people say, oh, I had loads of photos, but you took a blurry one off the big one, but that was the only overall one I could see. You need an overall photo first and foremost, usually from the front quarter, and then one from the back. So just a diagonal on both sides, I think, gives an overall impression of your models. Obviously, you guys want to see more, they can see the full build threads and then obviously the full reveal thread on the video, on the site itself from the video. So you can just do it that way. But don't worry about all the rest of it. We will handle it all. And then what happens is that normally a couple of weeks after it's all been finished, I will then be in touch and I'll be asking for your postal address just to make sure we got the right one and everything. And then I will send off to you free of charge all the guff, and you get it all like that. So it's all very straightforward.
I'm going to say, if it, just to help out, when you post up your final reveal, if you put your favourite 2 pictures first, and then it makes it easier for Phil, and then you basically said, oh, I'd like these 2.
Yeah.
So if you put your favourite 2 at the top, and then you can't, they can't start complaining that, oh, I don't like that photo. So if you do it that way, it just makes things easy.
Yeah, but if you definitely, one of them has to be an overall picture of the entire object. Okay, because as I say, sometimes I know it's difficult to photograph things like submarines and that because they're very difficult because of the size, but as long as we can have one overall one, because in the past we've had them and it's like just bits of an aircraft, for instance, and stuff like that, it's very hard to sort of pick the ones which are going to give the best overall impression in 2 photos about it. As I say, it wasn't so bad years ago when we used to have 10 photos of everybody's up, but that was when it only was like 50 people took part in a group build. But now we have 200 people doing it. Obviously the group build video would go on for hours if we did it that way. So that's why we tend to bring it back down to 2 photos, maximum for the video builds and things like that. But you can post up as many photos as you like for the end reveal build. Just I will take 2 from there. Okay, so, and is the sound all right, Steve? Have you checked it?
Yes, yeah, I've checked it.
Oh, right, good. Okay, so Neil says, hi Phil and Steve, I'm wondering if you could do a quick test for me. I have a theory that the Tamiya extra thin quick dry stuff would be better for making styrene filler than the normal extra thin stuff. As it dries quicker, therefore you get less shrinkage. Any chance of doing a test? To be honest, there's no point doing it here because obviously it takes like a couple of days to make up. But I have got some on the go at the moment. I don't think it dries any quicker. I can't vouch for it saying less shrinkage and all the rest of it. But I did add quick drying into one of my bottles of it here because it's got really, really thick to the point it was like rock hard. So I just put in a good, well, I don't know, a good dollop in the top, and now it's in there. And I've been using it over the last couple of days, especially on a project I've got going at the moment. I don't think it dries any quicker as a styrene filler, and I don't know about shrinkage because I don't really suffer from shrinkage anyway. Again, I'll say it, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Don't use styrene sprue. Styrene sprue is the reason why people tell me it takes forever to go off and you get shrinkage. If you use styrene sheet that's new, okay, and use that, you'll get less shrinkage and it'll dry within half an hour. And it's sandable and you can move on with it and everything else like that. If you tend to use something that's a little bit like sprue, we spoke about before, it's very soft in its initial stage, so it's always soft and it takes a long time to dry. But if you use styrene sheet, you'll have no problems at all. But the amount of people I had say to me, oh, I can't get it to work, it doesn't dry, and I said using styrene sheet, and they're like, no, I'm using sprue. It's because it's like gloop, the old gloop formula of doing it. The sprue is always going to be the weak spot. So if it's like a low quality plastic that doesn't go hard, it takes forever to dry and all and things like that. So just be wary of that when you're doing it. But I don't think it'll make much difference in that type of thing. Okay, palm jits on. Bless. Where's our grippy hand, mate? Hi guys, I hope you're both well. A few questions today. I bought a Sparmax air tank. You've done a review. I'm wondering, do you clean the same way as you showed on your video a few years back with a paper towel on the bottom and loosen the fitting? How often should you clean the tank? And is it possible to show this on an air tank? Do you need to empty the tank so there is no air inside every day at the end of the day? Do you have any general safety advice for an air tank? This is my first. Right, okay, so first of all, I do it outside. I load it up with air in here. I take it off to the lawn as a rule, okay? And then what I do is, you want the safety valve, which is underneath. and you loosen that one, because that's where all the water and everything's going to come out of. Don't tip it towards the moisture trap, because you'll flood the moisture trap, and that's very bad. Okay, and as you loosen it, all of a sudden it will dump. And then what you do, I just tip the tank left and right. The water moves up and down inside, and when it goes over the dump valve in the middle, it gets blown out and it explosively pushes it out. So you just open it a little bit. When it stops, open it a little bit more and it'll push more out. Okay, and just keep slowly undoing it and tipping it until it's just blowing fresh air. Okay, and then literally that's it. And then I'll clean it all off underneath, because it's usually all that sort of rusty colour, watery stuff that comes out. And then screw it all up, give it a wipe around underneath. I'll come back, repressurize, put it in there, and then you're good to go. That is literally it. How often should you do it? Depends on the humidity. If you're in somewhere that's very humid, you're going to get water in your tank quite a lot. I'd probably recommend doing it every 6 months, but good maintenance, definitely do it once a year, minimum once a year, every 6 months. But if you're in somewhere that's really humid, like if you're in like Florida or in the tropics or something else like that, you might want to do it every couple of months just to blow it through. Because the thing is, if that water ever gets up near your moisture trap, it'll wreck it, because it'll just flood it or overpower it. So a moisture trap is designed to take, almost condensation, moisture out of the air. It's not designed to deal with water. Okay, so it'll ruin it in one. So just make sure you keep it emptied and you're good to go. Should you empty your air tank? To be honest, when I was a younger modeler, shall we say, back in the 90s, I religiously would dump my air from my tank every single night when I had finished with it, and I would just let it go. That's because I didn't have an auto stop and start compressor, a lot of it, and it just had a release valve, and I pulled the handle and it would dump all the air. My other one now, because it's in my cupboard and it's behind soundproofing and it's out of the way, technically it's not as easy to get to. I don't bother. I just always leave it with air. So consequently, it's always just ready to go and ready to grab it. The only thing I do is turn it off at the wall, so it's not continuously, if you had an air leak, it's not continuously running, filling itself up when you don't need it.
Yeah. So I'll just add to that. Though I don't know how you can see that. There's loads of water in there that came out of mine. I did mine the other day, and that's, And you really need to look after them, because I've just put up on my Facebook a video of one in America that blew up. Somebody had one in his garage, quite an old one, decent sized one. And it shows it on CCTV as this his air tank blew up, and it's absolutely horrifying. So good practice. And cause basically his has rusted away on the inside, so it got to the point where the tank just gave up the ghost and badly injured him. So
definitely
worth looking after.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, also if you've got water in the tank, obviously air, it can be pressurized, water can't. So you're actually degrading the actual pressure in your tank as well. So by making sure it's empty and it's clear and everything else like that. But water, like that amount in there, was very similar to what I had in mind when I did that test, because I'd already emptied it outside from that video. I brought it in here to show you when we were doing the thing about all compressors, and I did it, and I was amazed how much more was still coming out of it. It's one of those things. But that water, because water technically cannot be pressurized, you're losing that amount of air in your tank all the time. So if it's building up and starts filling up, you're going to be losing pressure in your tank continuously, let alone for it sort of giving up on you. But general safety tips and all the rest of it, personally, I would unplug it at the end of every time you finish spraying with it, so that way it's not auto filling up. PTFE tape, the old plumber's tape, between all your fittings, that way it's completely airtight and it's not just leaking continuously, because otherwise you're going to be pumping up more than it needs to, and things like that. But generally that is it. Moisture trap, just make sure every now and again put your finger underneath it. Like my one is a push up to release, but if it's a tap version, just blow it out completely. You might notice that the moisture trap will fog up. That's just the difference in pressure differential. Okay, and then let that come out and blow that out, because again, if it starts to build up in the moisture trap, that's going to defeat the purpose of it. You want it all to be empty all the time, so it's just air running through it. Okay, if you do ever get the situation where your hose splits, you might get like basically it's like an emergency decompression or explosive decompression. The pressure changes inside the tank because it's just being let out instantly, and what can happen is you'll get condensation will form. You can end up with water that's got past your moisture trap and is in your hose. Okay, so make sure that all blows out. Again, we've shown that in older videos as well, where I've got the clear ones out and we've deliberately done a decompression with it, and then lo and behold, you've got water droplets coming up your hose. Okay, so again, just if that happens, just make sure it's all blown through. Fill up your tank a couple of times, gently release it, let it all out, clean it all through, and you'll be good to go. But generally, these are oil-free compressors that you're using, then they're not a problem. If you've got like the Bambi type ones which have oil, just every 6 months have a look, make sure the oil levels, it's no different from like your oil compressor like I've got in the garage. You just have a look at it, check your oil level on it. There'll be a little sight glass, just make sure it's got oil in it, because if it runs dry, then you're in trouble. You run the risk of it seizing up and all the rest of it. But for general oil-free compressors like most of us use, you don't have to do any maintenance apart from making sure they're empty, okay, of water and moisture and everything else like that. Okay, he also says, loving the Star Wars month, bought my first Bandai kit, the Clone Trooper, very nice. Plan on doing it during the holidays from uni in the 501st Clone Trooper scheme. I believe Steve has one of them in his helmet collection. It requires chipping, but I've never done this before. This is my plan. Build the kit, coat the kit with hairspray or Vallejo chipping medium, mask it, paint it, chip it. Right, okay, pretty close. Depends, obviously you need your chipping colour. So what you want to do is paint your kit in your chipping colour you want it to have, then put the hairspray over the top of it so it's underneath it. Okay, and then you put your top colour, which I assume will be white, or the red markings or the blue markings you're going to do with it. Then you'll chip at those, peeling that off, which will then show it through, or whatever it is. So if you're having like white chipping through, then obviously you'll just hairspray it and put it on. But the chipping fluid might want to not stick to the plastic neat. It might want to go down, so it might be worth painting it white. So if you're doing your trooper like this guy, imagine he is, I've got him over there, but to get him out of the cupboard would be too much. Okay, but technically, if he's all white, I would probably repaint him white. Then I'll put the chipping medium right over him, or your hairspray, or whatever you're going to use. Then obviously you respray him white again, and then you'll go in and do the sort of your colours over the top and do your chipping to it. So that's the thing, you just need your chipping one to come through. But basically you're right there. Again, like we've said, it's on a small subject. You'll probably be better off brushing it on by hand, the chipping fluid, or hairspray, rather than spraying it, because spraying it will go everywhere. And if you're putting it by hand, you can localize exactly where you want to get it. Go back and have a look at this guy, because it's exactly the same theory as we did on this one. Okay.
I'm going to say, just to add to that, Phil, I believe they decided to show up this weekend if Phil's free.
Yes.
And what we're going to be doing chipping on Boba Fett Slave 1. So we'll show you how we do that. So if you watch on Saturday, you'll see how we both tackle chipping. Probably both do different ways of doing it as well.
True. I'm probably going to go the chipping fluid way and hand paint it on and then chip it off, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's a bit more localized then.
Yeah, that's my preferred way. I just think it's better control doing it that way. But we'll show you on Saturday, and it'd be worth tuning in to have a look.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, great to meet you guys at Telford. Enjoy your Star Wars month. Thanks in advance for your advice and your help. No problem. It's lovely to meet you as well. Okay, so David says, good afternoon, guys. I've noticed that after a bit of sanding on the hull, Hobbybob M4 high-speed tractor, it has developed quite a static charge. Every loose brush hair or lint sticks to the hull. How would you go about getting rid of static cling? To be honest, I don't get static cling, but usual thing, just earth yourself out. It could be worth, to be honest, hooking a cable, just to a radiator or something metal in the home, and just running it up to your bench. And you can get a static wristband if you want to do sort of crocodile clips onto things and stuff like that, or just to have it on, so when you've got your arm on, it just earths you. That's all it is. It's obviously you're getting positive. It may be what you're wearing, it might be the carpet if you're on carpet, or whatever it is. And obviously with the sanding motion, you're just building up static. And again, just earth yourself out. Usually you just grab a radiator or anything metally, you know, and away you go. And it will just then, you know, it will earth itself out and you will lose that. I don't tend to get it, I must admit, and I've never had it. And I work on carpet and all the rest of it. So, yeah. Ever had static, Steve?
No, I can't say I have. No.
No, I must
never heard of people having it. No.
No. That'll be the shell suit setting it off.
I'm going to say, yeah, you don't want sparks going off, do you?
Yeah, that's it. You get to the point you start zapping people. Okay, I tell you, my Merc was the one for that. Every time you walk up to the Merc, you go to grab the door handle, you get a belt off of it, to the point where you knew it was going to happen. So every time you travel up to the car, you'd always do this to it, or like, you know, to try and earth it out. Because as soon as you grab the door handle, it gives you a hell of a bang. And it didn't just happen to me. Anybody who walk up to it used to get a bang off it. Okay, Ronald says, hi Phil and Steve, as Christmas is almost with us again so quickly, I wanted to know, sorry, he's written this in funny font, it's throwing me completely. Is this the best, I want to know, is the best way to go into upgrading my Spato booth? I have a cheapo one that was on eBay a few years back. It folds down into a case, you know the one. Well, I spent my gift money on kits like the ones you use. I saw the Graphic Air A380D on a site with Lee on ISM doing an unpacking video for YouTube that he said was on a group build via your site, the one I think you use. Also, I heard somewhere that you got a roll of filter fabric for a good price. Is this right? Yes, because obviously Lee and the entire were members here. So what it was is that a few years ago I got together with Graphic Air and we did a special sort of bulk buy deal where we got enough members together and they gave us, I think it was, if I remember rightly, something 15% off or 20% off of them, and we got a load of us together and we all got it at that price, and that's how it worked. And Lee did the unboxing video, which originally was our video, and all about it and everything else, but obviously now they've gone off and set up their one. That's why it went over there. To be honest, I have been speaking to Graphic Air a lot, and to be honest, they're out of stock of my booth at the moment. Now they build them to order, and I'll be honest, and because they've been very honest with me, because I spoke to them a couple of times over the last week, is that the company who make the extraction fans for them haven't got any. Okay, so obviously with the run up to Christmas and everything else like that, they're desperately trying to get them, and like they've said, they've never had a problem obtaining the exhaust fans for these ever. In all the years of making them. It just happens now that the company they get them from has let them down, so they're just waiting for them to come back into stock. The rest of the unit is all ready to go, but they tend to build the order because they're quite expensive. So that's why mine won't be here probably for another week minimum, probably not before Christmas if we're honest. So it has put everything completely on hold. So as soon as mine turns up, I'm going to be doing a big thing about it. So we're going to do an unboxing video. I'm going to show you about setting one up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip the entire of this lot out here, and we're going to make the ultimate spray booth setup. So we're going to have 2 of these 300Ds running in here. I'm going to be making some stuff out of the plastic foam core and acrylic. Okay, so we're going to have a nice big spray booth which hopefully will exhaust everything out no matter what you're spraying in there, and all the rest of it. So that is a thing to that one. That will be in a couple of weeks. At the moment, Graphic Air are now offering 10% off obviously everything. The code is up on the site, it's in the actual members area and everything else like that, but that's on anything. It used to be just on the spray booths, but they now offer it on anything. So you do get 10% off of the 300 and anything else from Graphic Air as well. So there's various things like that. As for the filter stuff, again, if you have a look back through the shows, you'll see it. I buy the giant rolls of this stuff, okay, which is basically what they're made of anyway, but it's just cost effective because it works out, I think I worked it out, it's around about 40 pence per filter versus £9 or £12 for each one if you buy the real ones for it. And it does exactly the same thing. You can buy it. So it's automotive spray booth filter. You can buy it in two. It's like 20 by 1 meter or 20 by 2 meter rolls. And everything else like that. So, that's the way it works. But it's dirt cheap, very, very cost effective way of doing it. And you can change your filter almost weekly, which is good because obviously if your filter starts to clog, to be honest, this needs changing now because it starts to clog like Steve's, because he never changes this, he's naughty. It's one of those things, not only is your booth having to work twice as hard because it's trying to draw the air in, but also it's not just flowing straight through the filter, it's actually bouncing off it a little bit and then going in and all the rest of it. So it is a good thing to change your filter. I would recommend as soon as it starts to look full, change it. Don't even risk it. They're so cheap. When they're expensive, you tend to like hold off until you're desperate. But obviously with the cheap way of doing it, just change it weekly.
I must admit that's my next job on my list this week, to change mine, which should be fun.
Get your filter done. Messy things to do. The first one's really messy, cutting the back off. Do it outside because you'll get it everywhere. And then get in the old one out, they staple it in. So when you take it out, it's a bit of a palaver to pull it out. But once you've done it, it's a really clean way because all I'll do, I don't even take the front to get this off. I will literally pull this out like this. And you can see the dust coming off of it. So when I take this off, I will literally pull it out with it running. That way the dust gets sent back in there. But this one's pretty full now, so what I'll do is I'll literally turn it on, pull it out. I have a plastic bag next to me and I'll show it in the plastic bag, get it out, because it's horrible stuff. It's dusty as hell, it'll go in your environment and everything else like that. So yeah, get rid of it and you'll be good to go. Okay, so anyway, he says keep up the great work, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to the family and all at Flory Models, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn, no problem at all. Sorry, I've missed a bit off of here as well. I am one of the unlucky disabled modelers that survives the hobby, as the boredom is a killer. So I need to save the money. No problem at all. Steve's the same.
Yeah. And I'm absolutely, yeah. Money is very tight.
And he's a Yorkshireman, so they are like the tightest of the tight. Okay, so David says, hi Phil and Steve, my bottle of Pledge floor care from the States. My question is, what pressure do you spray it, and do you spray several coats? Depends what I'm doing. If it's something like a quick overcoat, I'll tend to put down maybe just one coat, if that's all it is. Normally two. To be honest, it's thinner than the old stuff, the old clear and stuff like that. It's definitely thinner, so you're probably going to need two. Air pressure, again, it's very thin, so you don't need as much air pressure. Probably running it around about 12 psi, and then literally a couple of little light coats and you'll be good to go. And it's really nice stuff. Just it's a lot thinner, so sometimes it will bead up and gets wet very, very quickly. But once you've got a coat down, what you can actually do is go over it with a really heavy coat and it will cling to itself. The other nice thing about it is it works like clear, so if you get a run in it, don't worry about it, just wet it or go over it with a brush tool just by hand and just go like that and you will melt in the run and you'll be good to go. So no problem. And also don't panic when it goes white. Sometimes it goes white and foggy. It will dry black, crystal clear. Okay, so Simon says, hi both. Painting question. The MiG-21 PFM. Any tips about the mottling camo? Right, okay, hold on. I can show this one because I've still got the artwork here. So what he means is, I'm going to get this one out. So he pulls out the wrong picture. Right, this is the one. So he's on about the mottling on this one. It's a large, daunting area, having never done anything like this before. I know you've covered it with the FW190 build. If I can recall correctly, that was a similar area, albeit a big model. I'm concerned about being able to keep the patches a constant size over the whole area. Phil, did you see my PM re Micro Star Destroyer and other vehicles? Probably, Simon. If you're on about doing the forced perspective one, yeah, actually quite a few of the members, Ron's got one, and things like that. So yeah, we did see those. Bandai do them. I think it's 1 to 1 zillion scale. Anyway, right, so we're on about these patches. Now, there's a couple of little techniques you do with this. Obviously, we've covered modelling before and shown it before on quite a few videos over the back, but we did do it properly, a nice close-up version. So you could do it like that, i.e. nice low air pressure, nice thin paint, and build it up. Trouble is, as you're saying, it's pretty universal pattern all the way over it, but they're very random. So you've got a couple of options. One is to cut out like a business card, okay, and then put these shapes onto it, and then by rotating them through 90 degrees and turning them back and front, you could probably do quite a few of these, okay. Or your other option is to actually use a modelling template, like we've seen before. Now, if I've got mine here, I should have, where are we? Oh, no. You could use full-on modelling templates, and to be honest, because of the sizing of it and all the rest of it, this is probably the one I would do, because I don't think it's that far out either. So as you can see, that is the modelling template. So you can buy these are done by Airwaves, which is like Hammond's, I think. But as you see, you could put that on and work it right the way over the model. Okay, and that is probably the way I would do it. That way you've got a nice random effect, and then say you don't have to do it in like strips like this. You can just pick a square, put it down, spray it, and then you're literally just going to work it right the way over the model around as you go around all the rest of it. Okay, and then when you get to anything which is like quite a complex curve or a sort of funny surface that you can't get this onto, then you can just touch it in freehand. And remember, modeling goes both ways. You're not just putting in the green, you can go in and put in the metal finish under it, around it, so you could touch it in with that. As well as, so I always say, you get people and they're like, I've messed up my modelling. We'll just go back with the original colour and then sharpen it up and tidy it up, just like we showed on the 109. So, but it's a big thing, because when you start that, it's a bit like doing the worm camo. It's never ending, and to try and get it so it looks right, so you haven't got like blotches and some areas are bigger than smaller, can be quite daunting. So to do it with one of these, you're going to end up with everything roughly the same type of shape, so you could literally work your way right the way over it. Steve, how would you do it?
Yeah, I've got I'll show you mine, because mine's slightly different to yours. Set them off first. So I've got the Edad. Edad do a template set as well, which I've yet to use. So you get the larger ones, and then you get all the different smaller ones and the wavy lines, and so yeah, that's quite a set.
That's just the same as mine.
Yeah, this is Edad. It's number XF564, and that's for 1 to 48. They'll probably do a 1 to 32nd one as well, so they're really good. But I'd either use these, or I just if I could get my airbrush going nicely, I'd freehand it. But you could also, if you could brush them on, if you get the use acrylic paint. Vallejo's very good for it, and just add a little drop of retarder in, slow down, you won't get any brush marks, and you can just brush them on. So that's another option as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, it's one of those things. It's very much daunting prospect when you start it, but I think once you get in the role and you start to get used to it, and perhaps a few test areas on a bit of plastic card or your buster or whatever it is, then that way you sort of get your confidence up and you go through, because as soon as your confidence comes through, you'll work through it very, very quickly. It's the same if you were doing digital camo. To start with, it's very, very intimidating because it's just the sheer volume of it, but once you get those patches going down on there and you start working your way through it, you might end up like I do a lot of the time. You start off with being very sort of, right, okay, it's perfect, it's perfect, and then you're into the stage where that's fine, that'll do, and then you sort of relax into it and you can work through it doing it freehand rather than messing around of like putting it together. To be honest, it's a bit like doing the Star Destroyer. When I was working on this week, is that I started off with doing the grey patches and everything else. I was very much a case of taping each one, halfway through, stuff it, and I just did it by hand. Just got the paint out, putting them on all the way through, nice thin paint, and it took half the time to do the entire thing. So from that point of view, very straightforward. Okay, so again, don't be too put off by it. It just looks a bigger job than perhaps it really is. Christopher, hi guys. Do you have any experience with the 1 to 700 and aftermarket parts? This is ships. I wanted to get one for the next group build. I have the Italeri 1700 Bismarck in my stash. As far as I know, scalemates.com, it's a rebox of the Dragon kit. So aftermarket parts were made for the original Dragon kit should fit or not? Question mark. I'm thinking about getting some aftermarket main guns and Edard photo etch sets for the wooden deck. I hope to see some other Bismarcks in 1 to 700 scale, as they seem to be quite rare on the forums. Kind regards. Keep up the good work. I'm just trying to think, how big's 1 to 700? Is that just about that big?
Yeah, it's small.
Wasn't Ron's when he did his graph spay?
I think so. They're only tiny, aren't
they? Is that size? Is that 700? Must have been
to
be honest, I've never touched photo etch in that scale. I don't know. Steve, you ever done 700 scale photo etch?
No, and I wouldn't like to be honest. It's got to be really fiddly. Yeah, it is. But if you do get some, it's a matter of PVA glue for something that small. Super glue would be a nightmare. But no, I've never done anything that small.
No, nor have I. Definitely love to follow it. It's just something I've never done anything that small. So if you want to go for that and post it up, I will be following with interest, definitely. So good luck with that one, Chris. But can't really help there because I've never done it. And as I say, that is sort of, pinnacle scale modeling. When you're doing 700 ships like that, as I say, the reason you haven't seen many of them, I think a lot of people won't want to tackle it because that is very, very small. So, but I'd love to follow along with that one. Okay, hi Phil and Steve. Chuncho here again. Oh, that's right. We'll send you a private message through the forum so you can change to my real name. What happened is I returned after 3 years to the site and the system reactivated my old user and nickname. If you're curious, Chuncho was my dad's fighter pilot call sign. Call sign name in the Peruvian Air Force.
Cool.
It's the word of a warrior tribe in the Amazon jungle in Peru. Cool. My question for today is, I live in the sunshine and warm Florida. Would you recommend putting a few drops of retardant to the paint, Vallejo or Tamiya, to avoid them drying fast when airbrushing? Thank you both for what you're doing. Happy holidays. That's all right, Marco. If you want to stay as that, because I know it's you, you can stay as that if you want to. Retarder, I think if you're in anything where your paint is drying too quick, then definitely that would be my my go-to. To be honest, it doesn't get very hot here. Damp, admittedly, but not hot. But when we do have hot summers, I do always just drop in a couple of drops of retarder. I just literally pop it directly into my colour cup as part of my mix. So I mix up my paint, and then I will just chuck in, after I've done my normal mix, I will chuck in literally a drop or two. If it's a half a colour cup, I'll put in 1 drop. If it's a full colour cup, I'll put in 2 drops of retarder. I stir it up and that's it. And personally, I can't tell any difference from spraying. It's not like suddenly when you're spraying it, it's like, oh, this is different, because it's not. It just goes down exactly the same. The difference is, though, because for that split few seconds more drying time, it enables it to level out on your model. So when you put it on, it's not like dry and you don't get the gritty finishes and all the rest of it and your bits and pieces like that. So it just slows it down for those few seconds that enables the paint particles to melt into each other before they dry and cure and everything else like that.
I won't be so sure, Phil, about that, especially in Florida. So I reckon we should go and stay with him for a few days, do a bit of testing.
What, a test?
Yeah, just definitely. Be safe. Yeah, I think it'd be a bit tricky out there.
Right, okay, all right. Well, we'll pop over to Marco's then, and we'll do a couple of shows from there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And yeah, we'll do that one. Right, okay, deal. Do you use much retarder in the summer? Does it get hot where you are?
Oh, it does now and again, would you believe? Yeah, I do, and yeah, it's essential. I've got a little Vallejo bottle. It came with the big paint set, like the ones you've got where you get loads in a little briefcase thing. And I just put 1 drop in. Because obviously the Vallejo bottle's brilliant, so you can just do 1 drop into your
dropper. Yeah.
And it works a treat. It's like with brush paint, and you'd be amazed just by putting one drop of retarder in, it makes things so much easier. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. And if it's really warm where you are and really dry, maybe put a couple of drops in.
Yeah.
All you have to do then is just remember just take your time a bit more with your airbrush and just mist light coats on. Because if you put it on too much, it could go all over the place, really flooded. So just take your time. But yeah, definitely, retarder's the way to go.
Yeah, definitely.
But what you can do if you get a little Vallejo dropper bottle and then go to your art supply, because you can buy it really good big bottles of it and just keep filling up a little dropper bottle, or even find a little dropper bottle. Just makes your life a bit easier, the dropper bottle.
It is. I must admit, I have, because my bottle, I'm slowly working my way through. If I can find it, where is it? Here it is. I'm literally still only probably 20% through this bottle, and I've had this bottle for absolute years. And when I say years, I really mean it. I must have had this bottle 6-7 years now. And this is Flow Improver. Basically, it's the same thing. Okay, but the thing is, it's cumbersome in that way, because you can't pour it, so I have to get a pipette, and trying to find a pipette when you need one is a nightmare. So yeah, I highly recommend Steve's way. Clean out an old Vallejo bottle once you're done with it. Okay, give it a good scrub out and all the rest of it, and then, as I say, I will decant this into it and we'll use it. But I would like to have a go with Vallejo stuff, because everybody I've spoken to swears by Vallejo, not at them, but with it, because apparently it works extremely well. It's really designed for it, whereas these are probably designed more for brush painting and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, I've been using this for ages. So it'll probably be on the paint rack, the bottom where they have all the varnishes and stuff like that. So just see if you can find a bottle of their retarder medium, and like I say, it's just one drop in your airbrush cup. If you brush paint a figure, one drop will last. And it's better because it'll make your paint last longer as well when you brush painting. So it's really good stuff, and quite an essential buy, I think, to be honest with you.
And slippy in the hand. Okay, so right. Okay, Mick says, "Hi guys, thanks to Steve, I shipped my bottle of Mr. Mark Setter, got all the sediment off the bottom, and had great results compared to the last time where it didn't seem to do anything. Most didn't need the softener. After the decals are down, how long do I need to leave it before going over the top with an acrylic varnish, satin varnish? Anything else I need to consider before doing so? As always, thanks for all the good work, Mick."
I don't know, I like to leave my decals overnight, just to make sure it's fully dried out any solution, that it's finished settling down, the decals are no longer soft. So yeah, just leave it overnight and then put your varnish on. But you find with the Mr. Setter stuff, it just keeps working and working, even for about an hour afterwards. You can come back to your mod and you think, oh god, it's got even better. It's gone bedded down even better. So, but yeah, I'm glad you worked for you. You goes to show a good mix of anything is essential.
Yeah, definitely. I'm determined next time I get a kit with a decal on it, which will probably be the Meteor at this rate, I'm going to use it exclusively and give it a proper good try. Because say last time I just couldn't get it to work, but this time I'm thinking, right, okay, well I reckon a good mix up, soft brush like Steve says. Don't use the brush that's in it because that's horrible, and we should have good results with it. So I'm looking forward to giving that a go.
Don't forget, just put a little bit on before you put the decal on, and then put some on over the top as well instead of using softener, and you should get there.
Yeah, definitely. Right, Chris Robinson says, "Hi, Phil and Steve. I just wanted to thanks for all the feedback to my question, which was the first on last week's show, that when you had the sound problem. I've taken your advice and I've kept my Hasegawa F15E convert to a B sometime in the future, and I bought the Rebel F15E with bonds instead. I'm just waiting on the AMK Tomcat now. Have you any idea when it's coming out? Thanks as always for all the help and inspiration. P.S. Looking forward to the Flory office party next week." Yes, God help us all. All right, definitely a good idea with the Hasegawa, leaving it as a B, and doing it that way, and then pinch the bits off of it to put on the Rebel one. As I say, the Rebel kit is really nice, no problems at all. It's one of those kits, if you're doing it straight out of the box, it goes together exceptionally well. The only trouble is just watch out for those fast packs, the fuel tanks on the sides of the intakes, because just getting them in and lining up, don't be too perfect with it either. The reality is they have like a rubber gasket, and that gasket is a mess. That holds them on the side and everything else like that. But that's the only slightly iffy thing on it. The rest of the kit is actually a really nice kit, and until recently, with a few newer kits that have come out, it has been my all-time favourite kit of Rebels. Definitely. For the Tomcat, I believe it's supposed to be out, isn't it? February next year. The AMK Tomcat. You heard anything? I thought it's.
I haven't heard anything.
No. Gone a little bit quiet with it, I must admit, but I did hear it was supposed to be first quarter next year. So first quarter, normally we are talking then January, February, March. Second quarter then is obviously, the second quarter of the year and so on and so forth. So it should be out around about that time. And I must admit, I will build it. As soon as I get my grubby little hands on one, I will build it. Not because I don't like the Tammy. We know we're not going down that question route again, but I do like the idea of a Tomcat with all the bits and pieces hanging out of it. Okay, as for the party, so are we. It should be a good night, that one. Okay, so Nick says, hi Phil and Steve, as part of my new cave, I'm building a paint rack for the future purchase of Mr. Paint collection. Before I build something that doesn't fit, would you be able to measure up the bottles for me? Because I can't find them. I did this the other day. This is the third time I've done this.
As it happens, I've got a tape measure next to me.
I've got my calipers.
Well, my one has a gap of 10 centimetres. The shelf cap's 10 centimetres, and it leaves just enough to put your finger on the top to get it out. So,
if I remember rightly, I'm not going to say anything until I do it, because it'll be the thing is said. Yeah, it is. So the bottles are 85 by 30, isn't it? Or 32.
Yeah.
So the bottle size of these.
Gap.
Yeah. So I did, which mine are, or it should be, is 10 centimetres as my shelf gap. That's it. And my shelf widths are the widths of a bottle, funny enough, which are 30. If I remember rightly. Yeah. So hold on, let me just double check that. Yeah, my shelves are actually 10 centimetres, and then the depth of them is 3 centimetres or 30. So yeah, that's the thing. I get asked this question all the time. That's it. I might redo my paint rack next year.
I need to get a bigger one. Mine's too small. Needs to be a lot.
So do I.
Somebody, one of the guys said he'd build me one to let him know how measurements and that, but he hasn't been so well recently, so.
Right, yeah. Well, so when I do my ultimate paint rack, technically my paint rack will be able to come to the end here, because it's going to be in there. So I'm going to have a gap. This is the trouble. So I was thinking that I do need to sort mine out a little bit.
You need one so you can put all your bottles on there, don't you? You know, I've got that many now. It's ridiculous. Not moving for layup. They're in a box now.
Yeah. No, I must admit I've got boxes of it kicking around now. Okay, he also says, P.S. I'm glad you like the patch. Look forward to seeing your special with all the other patches when it's finished. Yes, I will do it. It is. It's right in place. It's up there at the side. I have it on the side of my glass cabinet. I have the patches. So I've got some quite weird ones now, which is quite nice. So Steve got me the Coast Guard one for the Alaskan Kodiak one, which was nice. So I've got yours. So I have a rescue section now, and I've got the Sacramento Sheriff's Department one, which is good, and I've got the Roadrunners International, which is for the SR-71 cruise. So yeah, that was a nice one that I picked up as well. A bit of a specialist one, that one. So yeah, the Missouri one there. We've got a couple of the demonstration teams. Got a couple of the NATO Tiger Meet ones as well. So yes, I will. As I say, if anybody wants to send me to me, usual address.
Yeah, and you know, I know I'd like to start a collection. I still need to get me mug collection up on the wall, because I've got this thing that when my friends go on holiday, I always ask them to bring me back a mug and a magnet. So we've got all different fridge magnets in the kitchen from all over the world, all over Europe, what have you. And I must have about 50, 60 mugs from all over the place.
Christ, so, that's going to be a hell of a mug collection.
Yeah, I've got some. Furthest away is Australia, but I've gone from all over now.
Cool.
So it's quite, yeah. It only started off as a joke, but now it's got going. So I just need to stick them all on the wall again now, get them all out.
Yeah, that's it.
So we'll never run short of mugs in our house.
No, that's it. Just grab all off the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sam says, hi Philip Steve, I've just finished painting my first build using an airbrush. Congratulations. After some experimenting, seems to have got the hang of it. It's important to put down a clear coat. Sorry, is it important to put down a clear coat over the paint before applying decals? If so, I use gloss or matte. Okay, so you don't always have to do it. If you're spraying down a gloss paint, then technically you don't need to re-gloss it. The whole point of putting down a gloss paint or a sealer coat or anything else like that is just so your decals have got something nice and easy to stick to. Because if it's very rough paint, that's when you get the actual silvering, because all that is air underneath. So if you've got a rough texture, to be honest, that's not too bad. But if you were to put decals, for instance, onto this guy, you wouldn't be a problem because he's very glossy, okay? But if you were putting it down onto something that's really flat or rough and all the rest of it, you might just want to pop down a clear coat just to actually, one, seal your paint down so you know you're good for any further weathering you go through or anything you do to it. But also so it's very smooth and it's easy for the decals to adhere to and stick to, basically, and conform over or sink into the rivets. If it's textured, it's very hard for the decal to actually get in there and get a grip, okay, and doing things like that. The whole point of clear coats, though, between different things, so you finish your paint work and stuff like that, is to really as a barrier. So you seal that coat down, you put that paint on there now, so then when you come in with other things like washes or oils or, you know, anything like that, or enamels, that it's actually sealed, so your paint's not going to get affected by anything that you might do later on. And in a lot of cases, if it goes wrong, you can then just go back to that layer you had before, because you'll be able to wipe it away, and the sealer layer being acrylic, obviously enamels won't be able to eat into it or anything else like that. It will protect your paintwork and make your way through it. So that's the reason for that. But definitely for decals, you want the glossier the better. You don't want matte. He said, also, I've recently acquired the Humbrol clear coat, clear gloss, and after dipping my canopy of a Revell 1/72 Snap-Tite A10, I had a large white coloured run on the canopy that I could not get rid of. Right, chances are, I've never used their stuff, to be honest. The Humbrol gloss clear, is that the same as their clear fix or whatever they call it? I don't know. One of them, they did like a version of clear that nobody seemed to like. It seemed to have a lot of problems with it. I never used it, but I know a lot of people did. You were saying it's got like a coloured run. If it's either, it's just extra thick. Okay, so as it's dried foggy and everything else like that. I don't know what they make theirs out of, if it's an enamel. But that, it sounds like what it is. Perhaps you've almost got a drip or a run in it, as you say. And what's happened is that it's because it's thick, it's built up and gone that sort of, you know, opaque type of white color or yellowy color or something else like that they can do. Your secret to that one, to be honest, is when you have your canopy or that you're using, come along with your canopy, if this is it, put it actually onto a paper towel so it absorbs it off, so it takes care of anything. And then what you can actually do is roll the edges just so it sucks it off and then puts it down. Then I always, to be honest, if you get yourself a couple of cocktail sticks, okay, you can sort of put them down, then put the canopy on it like that, then overcoat it with something, and then that way it stops dust laying on it. But also, because it's very little on the bottom, it won't stick to much, and it enables the air to get the way around it and all the rest of it. So you'd be good like that. And speaking of dipping, these are the clear parts that we were talking about, and they're still as clear as crystal. No problems with that at all. Yeah. It's funny, the crystal clear one is the proper, is the one that was dipped, but they're still good. So yeah, that's what you want to do with that one. As for fixing that, if that's going to be your next question, and you couldn't get rid of it, that's the trouble. I think with their one, it's like an enamel. So when it dries, that's it. It is literally locked in. The only thing you could do then is to sand it back and then use buffers and things to polish it and then re-dip it. So you could do that. So once it's gone hard, get in there, sand away that foggy area completely. Okay, then buff it up a bit so you get rid of most of all the scratching and all the rest of it, and then re-dip it and do it in that technique. I've done multiple videos on dipping canopies and various bits and pieces like that. Go and have a look at those in the tutorial section and things like that. There's one on about it. It says about dipping and masking canopies and things like that. Have a look at that one, and that'll help you out with that one.
I'm going to say for that's why I've stopped dipping canopies unless it's the canopy's in a really bad state.
Oh, really bad, yeah.
Yeah, just polish them. Use your polishing stick, buff them up.
Yeah.
You won't have that problem. And then if you get excess paint on it, you can just scrape it off with a cocktail stick. It's the best way of doing it. You avoid so many problems. But it's also worth, to be honest, I'd get rid of that Umbral stuff. I know it's expensive getting it from America, 15 quid a bottle, but get yourself a bottle of the new American clear. Failing that, get some of the gauzy stuff. If you don't want to order from America, get a bottle of the gauzy stuff because that's brilliant too. But yeah, I'd get rid of the Umbral stuff, to be honest.
It's strange because Umbral seem to be very old school when it comes to the medium they use. They tend to use a lot of enamels and things like that, which I think enamel in washes, perfect. Anywhere else, no. Enamels are for all sorts of washes as far as I'm concerned, but not so much in paints and things like that. I just find them a little bit hard to use and a little bit unpredictable with some of the results from the Umbral range as well. But as I say, I'm not, it's the Umbral clear gloss. I think that's just the clear gloss bottles versus they did a version of clear, and I know loads of people had trouble with that one.
It's weird because their enamel paint's brilliant. The majority of it's fantastic, but it seems to be the varnishes.
Yeah.
And I never used to like their enamel thinners. That were evil stuff. If you put that in the wrong plastic mixing cup, you come back and you'd be just. Yeah, you could see it, dissolving your workbench as well.
Evil blood.
Stuff. Yeah.
Basically, it says anything that happened to you was dipping, new technique, have I done it correctly? Chances are you just had too much on there. So that is the thing. When you're removing your item that you're dipping, so, assuming you've got a big cup and you've put it in and you've got hold of it with some spring-loaded clamps, something else like that, what I tend to do is when I come out, I will literally pull out very slowly so it's all got time to flow off. If you put it in and pull it off, it just builds up around the areas, and then that way you can then just tap it onto a paper towel, let it absorb off and everything else like that, and then you'll be good to go. And then as you say, if you stand it on a couple of cocktail sticks, it stops it building up around the end. If you put it straight down, you can end up with like a pull over it around the neck, and then it can't get off and everything else like that. So yes, that's the problem with that one. Thank you for everything you do for the hobby. I have to unsubscribe for a while, unfortunately, but cannot wait to be back again in 6 months' time. Have a great festive season. I wish you both and all the Flory family a happy new year. Thank you, Sam. No problem at all. Okay. Next page. Right, John says, hello Phil and Steve, and happy Christmas to you all and all your families. Right, my question, which would you say is the best razor saw? Can't believe I don't own one. Need to help with my purchase. Thanks for all the tips and tricks you both taught me. Right, Steve, what razor saw do you use?
I bought one from UMM. They do a nice razor saw, and I've also, it'd be easier. Several actually. Just skewered myself. Ow. Where's the other ones?
Well, whilst he's doing his, I've used this one. I use the CMK, and this has got the CMK blades. You can buy replacement blades. They're dirt cheap. They look like double-edged razor blades. Then they have a fine and then an ultra-fine blade as well. Okay, but absolutely love these things. No problem at all. You also, with the handle kit, you get a little thing where you can put two blades side by side. If you wanted to cut sort of in dual and things like that, you get little spacers and stuff like that. But I tend to be honest, I just use it literally as this is. Okay, and you see it's quite a well-worn blade on that one. But pack of blades, you can see them just in there like that. Dead handy to have. And oh, this is very smooth. They do coarse ones as well. They do different types. This is a very smooth one and everything else. But as you say, nice simple setup. Works a treat. And as I say, once you've had one, it's sort of one of those tools you'll use over and over and over again. Steve, what do you got?
Yeah, oh, I've got loads.
Apart from an injury.
Yeah, airbrush needle straight into the thumb. Old airbrush. Right, I'll go starting with my biggest. Chris will work with resin a lot, and I've had this quite a bit. That's the old Tamiya one, who do a massive saw, which is good for getting casting blocks off. It's really coarse, does the job really well. The next one I've got, which I highly recommend, are the X-Acto ones. You can get different is it teeth in it, different teeth per inch or whatever they call it, different sizes and grades and that, but the X-Acto ones are really good.
Yep.
The smaller stuff, this is originally came from, I said them earlier, UMM in America, but it's got a CMK blade on at the moment. That's the fine blade, and that's the coarser blade on, and that's the CMK handle as well.
Yeah.
I've also, the last one I've got is kind of a 4-twetch one from, is it Radu Brisnan Radu store?
Yeah.
Basically, it comes on a 4-wedge fret. The holder does as well. It gives you the screws, and that's for cutting really fine. You know, it can cut obviously anything, but it's for really small jobs, which is brilliant. Mm-hmm. And obviously, it's double-sided or double-edged, whatever you call it. But yeah, that's really good. So I've got different ones for different jobs.
Very good.
It's worth getting a couple of handles. The CMK ones are really, really good. Get yourself, if you've got a couple of handles, then you can have a coarse one and a fine one, and that should do the job. But like I say, if you work with resin a lot, because of the big casting blocks, it's worth getting a X-Acto one. Bigger. Yeah.
I must admit, I don't know if the Tamiya one, you can get a replacement blade for it, but my blade's a bit bent on my one, because I caught it on the pull stroke.
Yeah, you can get, they just come like that, replacement ones. But to be honest, you can get some really nice, if you want the bigger ones, in your normal DIY places, and especially online, you can get some really nice Japanese hand saws that do a really good job for a larger one.
Yeah, it's one of those tools you have. You know, you fight around with like knives and trying to cut through things. And then when you have a razor saw, it's just one of those tools you always have.
Oh, do I?
So you just keep going back and back and back to it so many times. And it's even handy for cutting bits of plastic and everything.
I don't know where mine is at the moment, but I do have the trumpet one. If you remember, with the really long blades.
Oh, the thin ones, yeah.
Yeah, but to be honest, these are
crap.
The blades are really, really good, and you get really different size blades. I'll just move that up a bit, so you get
I just
different
find those
size
really coarse, and the blades have a habit of popping out.
Yeah, it's the mechanism that holds it in place. It's absolutely terrible, and you're cutting through, and it's just no grip. It's not the best build quality.
No,
but you can.
It is what it is. The trouble with the trumpeter stuff, it does tend to be sort of cheap Chinese, you know, let's face it, that type of thing. It's not like a quality product. But also the plastic, the metal itself is very, very soft, and it flexes, and it's very hard to use it. And the size of the teeth are huge. But it's okay if you're hacking through just a casting block, that's no problem at all. But if you're doing something a little bit, you know, delicate, I wouldn't use one of these. I'd always use a proper razor saw, because these, say, if you imagine just a jigsaw blade, that's what it literally is hanging out of here. And the other thing as well is, compared to other blades, these are quite thick.
I've got, Games Workshop do a kind of more of a jigsaw style one.
Yeah. See, the other thing as well, we've spoken about, if you want to go down that route, I've done a review of these a few months ago, but I don't know if you remember, but I did actually a full review on different ones. So down here I've got sorry, there you are. It's these ones which are like photo etch, very, very thin. These are the Tamiya ones that actually they go into your more knife blade ones, like an X-Acto knife and stuff like that. You know, and you just, what it is, it's photo etch. You cut it off the photo etch through it, and then you bend it into the right shapes and all the rest of it. These are very nice. So if you want a cheap option, shall we say, with all different sizes and stuff like that, you can do that. These were sent to me by a member. I've still got the other ones here. You know, I have all them. Yeah, that was it. They call it the craft blade. This is the fine saw type 3, thick blade type.
I'm going to say, I've got something similar to that. I'll just about show you actually. Can't remember who makes them. Out. When the camera's back over, I'll show you.
Hold on. Camera is over.
Who makes it? You sure it's on you at the moment? Or is it? Oh no, it's split still. Yeah.
Both of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I've got these, and they're kind of like photo etch, and they're just different. So you can. Oh, I've never hardly used them, to be honest. I've got loads more kicking around, and they're just different shapes, sizes. Pretty lethal, actually. If you look at how lethal some of them is, especially the one in the middle.
Yeah.
You know, but these are quite good at but they are for really coarse, and they go in a scalpel handle. But I've never really used them. But yeah, they look lethal. Actually, you could use them if you're crafting your own figure, making a figure with a big axe on it. Yeah.
This is how the Tamiya ones come. It's literally on a sprue like that, and then you've got these as well, various types, and it's literally just like sheets of photo etch, and you sort of bend them to your one. And this one I take it was down here. Before it was this one down here, so you can do it that way. So you don't have to go out and buy a whole saw if you don't want to. There is options available. See, and actually in the photo etch world, you get some quite different. I've got this one as well, which has got a nice curve on it, right the way around it. So you could use both sides of it. You can sort of cut in or cut out, or right the way through. So in some ways, these are quite handy for getting into tiny little areas. Very nice little bits of detail and everything else.
That's why I like the trumpeter ones, because they have that they do some really long, thin blades that are good for getting into little tight areas. It's just the handles, terrible.
Yeah, they are. I used to find mine just kept falling off. Well,
mine
would pop out. Yeah. Okay, so Tommy says, hi Phil and Steve, I'm just about to finish my latest model, another Mirage F1 CG from Special Hobby. I'm planning on starting the new Hobby Boss SU27 Flanker B. I would like, however, not to go with the standard colours and try something different but still Russian. Any idea on where to find decals? Be very much appreciated. I would also like to see you doing the SU27 in an unusual scheme. I'm sure it would be interesting. Thanks, Tommy. Yes, decal manufacturers. Funny enough, I've got tons of them, absolute tons of them, because I don't think if it's still on the site, but Linden Hill do a very nice set. My Russian section, which are these ones. So you've got a couple of different options down here. This is so say if you wanted to do something sort of not, you got the Uzbek version, which is quite an interesting scheme. Then we got lots of Russian ones, of various things. These are the cold ones. all in the things. I'll just double side out now, check which ones they are. But yes, and also down in here I've got even more versions of, if I remember rightly. So yeah, we've got.
Did you just want to put your overhead camera on, Phil, so I can just see him a bit better?
Hold on, I'm just trying to see which ones we've got here. This is the Russian family, big, colourful tails for the SU-27. I don't know how well they'd fit up. These looks like they've yellowed horribly over the time. I wouldn't trust those so much, but that's for these as well. These are all the Russian ones I've got. But just trying to see which ones we've got in here. This is for the Russian Knights, for their markings. All of those down here as well. For all those ones, if you want to do something different, yeah, the Russian Knights. You can't get much more different from that. But that's all the different versions they've used and in all the different colour schemes. But I think if you want to do something slightly different and you want to keep it Russian-esque, then the Ukrainian flankers, they're the nice ones because they're the ones that do it in all the different splinter schemes, things like that. There's the Uzbek Air Force colours, if you wanted to do it that way. As I say, it's one of those things. I would quite fancy, to be honest, doing it in that sort of black and grey scheme that they do for it as well. It's like black, white. It's like Mukau in Russian. It's quite nice. It's what it is. It's supposed to represent that one, to be honest. They're just copying it. But yeah, if you have a look around and just do sort of a decal search on the SU-27, there's loads of different ones because you've got like the digital ones, you've got the splinter ones out there, then obviously you've got the different colour ones, the sort of eggplant grey versions as well with other colours, and the black and white ones. There is some very nice flankers out there. If you want to do something a little bit unusual, I personally would love to do the Czech splinter one because I do like that one. It's a nice one. It used to be my computer wallpaper for absolute years. But say next year I tend to do some real wacky schemes. I want to do some quite odd stuff in flight. Right, Jonathan, he says plenty of other schemes out there, Tommy. Yeah, there we go. So he's done a complete.
I've got to say, yeah, if you go on to Hannon's and type in 1 of 48th and SU-27 in the search, it brings up all sorts of weird and wonderful day calls that you can get.
Yeah. Right, also, whilst Jonathan's on here, Jonathan, did you send me a little something through the post at the weekend? If you did, can you text me, can you message me on the site and let me know you did? Because all I know is Jonathan has sent me something through the post. And obviously I'd like to thank him for it and obviously show it on screen and everything else like that. But I need to find out which Jonathan sent it, because that's all it says. It just simply says, you know, regards Jonathan, but doesn't actually give a surname on it. So I'm guessing it may be him, seeing he's one of our regulars on here. But as I say, obviously I want to thank you and do it properly on air and show the guys what you sent me. But it's totally over the top, very, very kind of you, and I will make very good use of it over the Christmas period, no doubt. In fact, we might get it out when we do the live show on the 23rd. But I need to find out who sent it. But literally, we came back from Staffordshire Sunday. Our post guys, we have a place where we leave it. Went round, picked it up, and lo and behold, there it was. So, but thank you very much if it was you. And that will all become clear on the 23rd, or when somebody owns up that they sent it to me. Okay, Chris says, Merry Christmas, guys. Nearly the end of term and the school year here in Oz. I'm heading home to beautiful Scotland for Christmas Day. Very nice. For a few weeks, visit the family and looking forward to it. My question is about MRP paints. If I purchased them in the UK and sent them home by mail, do you know if there might be a problem resending paints through the mail? Thanks for all the good stuff. Yes, you will not be able to send them through the paint normally. I don't know how Merrick is set with sending stuff abroad, but most of the UK guys won't send, you know, technically lacquer-based paints through the post because it's known as a hot product, and they are really pain on things like that these days.
I'm going to say if you were to buy them, get delivered to the place in Scotland,
yeah,
send them to us, you'd probably have to send via a courier. You just send it on, their cheapest option possible, and just get a courier to send it.
Will have. Well, the thing is, it won't even be a cheap option because it's flammable through the post, and it will have to be declared as such. Because if they find it, which they usually do, because they scan everything now, they'll destroy it on the spot. The only thing you could do is then just take it on the plane and stick it in your case, because it's 30 ml bottles, so it's underneath the. I think the legal thing is 50 ml flammables. So if it's in your case, I think it'd be no different from a bottle of like, nail varnish remover or something. So I think it's in your case, you might be okay. But say, I'm not an airport or security and all the rest of it, but I thought if you was probably buy 6 bottles of it and have it in your case, you're not going to have a problem. Because let's face it, it's no more flammable than a bottle of Bacardi, is it? So yes, not too sure about that one. You might want to check, but generally getting things sent through the post, I'll be honest with you, that's why I could have come up with lots of products with Flory models which are flammable, but I'm not going to be able to send them around the world because it just costs an absolute fortune. So I avoid anything that's flammable through the post because of all the health and safety and all that type of stuff. So that's why we don't do it. No problem, Chris. Have a nice time. You'll be happy to know it's going to be as warm here as it is in Oz probably. For Christmas, they're giving out possibly down in the southwest of England here 16 degrees Christmas Day, they reckon. Be the warmest Christmas on record. So Jimmy says, hi Phil and Steve, after all the talk Phil did about how good the Tamiya F16s are, I went out and bought one, the 148 scale F16 CJ Block 50. I'm waiting to paint it with MRP paints and was looking at what people paints to get. Tamiya gives the colours in AS. I've had a hard time finding the equivalencies, so some thoughts. Top side is dark ghost, it is, and it's 320. Tops and piles, you are correct. Yes, they are all fine. Yeah, your paint colours, that's it. The only other thing is that the 270. For the sides, apparently they don't really bother. It comes out of the factory like it, but when they're resprayed on the line, they just tend to do light grey, and then the gunship grey on top. So they don't tend to worry about that bit of light grey around the intakes and all stuff like that. On the other thing is the nose. Tamiya gives out that it's AS10. I've not been able to find a good equivalent, and I found pictures of the aircraft, but it looks dark on the top side, maybe. Blah, blah, blah. Right, okay, good thing to remember, the noses have a special paint job on them, which weathers, and they fade. Good example, this question came up years ago, and I had a photo I happen to have on my old computer, and it's a line of F-16s that I took at a Tiger meet. And they're all same nations and different nations and everything else. Not a single one of those noses is the same colour, purely because they're different ages, they weather differently, and all the bits and pieces like that. So from that point of view, honestly, don't worry about the nose colour. As long as you're roughly in the ballpark between dark ghost grey and gunship grey, anywhere in between there, it will be correct, because the noses all fade. F-15s do it notoriously. They're all different colours on F-15s, F-15Es, Cs, and 16s do them as well. So from that point of view, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just literally take a stab at the dark at what you want. You could literally do it in something like XF54, something like that, and you'll be absolutely fine with it. It'd be no problem at all. So yeah, your colours are perfect. Top side, gunship grey, underside and everything else is light grey, light ghost grey. So it's 375, and go for your life on it. No problem, Jimmy. Looking forward to it. Pictures up, please. We'll love that for the next show. Andy says, afternoon, gents. I'm at work at the moment, so I'll be re-watching when I get home. I've recently picked up 4 172nd F-14s from another member of the forum, and having a look at upgrades like PE or photo etch, cockpit and resin parts, but Google is letting me down a bit. Either that or I'm not looking in the right things. Can you recommend a good place for upgrade parts for kits? Also, on one of the news shows last week, Phil quickly showed an English Electric Lightning reference book, and mentioned that the author did an F-14 book. who is the author and where's the best place to pick it up from. Funny enough, I was looking at this last night. I was having a wee read. This is the one. I'm going to do the review of it, obviously. But yeah, basically it's the Danny Gorman's books, but it's Deco Productions. Have a look at theirs. As I say, all my books are upstairs now. I've got them up there. They used to be down here, but I've got the one on the F18, I've got the one on the F14, I've got the one on the F4. They are absolutely must-have books, and this one on the Lightning. And as I say, I'll be honest with you, I was sat in front of the telly last night. I finished doing some work in here, and I sat down and took it in the other room, and I'm flicking through it, and the inspiration that comes out is fantastic. So I'm thinking, now I wonder if I did a 1/32, and then I did it for a super build, you know, and go through the things, because when you've got that much references, there's no excuse. You know, I find it very difficult to turn around, and when you're looking at it like this thinking, no, I couldn't do that, because actually it's pretty straightforward. You know, when you've got good references, it makes things easier. When you've got a bad reference photo, it's very hard to think, right, how am I going to do that? How am I going to actually put that into practice? But when you've got good references, you can see every pipe and detail and think, well, I could copy that and do it. So that's why I get them. But to say, I think we used the F14 book we used when we did the F14. When we did the F16, we used somebody else's, I must admit, book. But a few of the other ones we've been using, the F14s, things like that, we've been using those books, and they are absolutely fantastic. And as I say, I've got an F18 planned for next year. I've got the one for that as well. So definitely one to have a look at. Okay, so Phil, you're a bit echoey on your audio feed, am I? Crikey, we don't.
You sounded perfect. No, you sounded fine to me all afternoon.
Let me just make sure the secondary mic's off. I haven't left one running. That could be it. There we go. That's probably just cured it a bit if it did, because, sorry, I had the other mic on as well. I had two mics. I'd left the mic on from last time when we had the problem. So we have 3 mics running on here. Normally when we have the studio full of the guys, I have all 3 running. But when it's just me, you get one mic, which is this one today. So there we go.
Thanks, Phil.
You all got deaf now, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Me again, might be my internet. Your visuals are okay, but a bit blurry. Oh look, now he says. I've just got to change it now. Everyone will be saying I can't hear you. Okay, testing. Yeah, no, I can see me. Okay. Right, Steve says, hi Phil and Steve, first post since Telford. Nice to meet you guys and the team there. Nice to meet you, Steve. 2 questions for today. Which is the best method that you've found for aircraft canopy tinting? I've heard many methods, but none that stands out to be the best, or indeed the most predictable. This is the trouble. That's actually a good word. The trouble that you have is trying to get and recreate exactly what it is. It's not an easy thing. Me and Steve, when we were doing our canopy tinting live on air, we did a Saturday, we were both doing it. I don't think any of us are really happy with different versions we had tried. So we tried thinning down paint and putting it on, but it pulled because the window was not a good shape. It's not like a flat piece of glass. So I ended up spraying it with a clear colour and then obviously then dipping it. And that cured my problem, and I was fine with that. And Steve did something similar with his, and again we got through with it, no problem at all. The trouble with dipping canopies is that when you're trying to do a complex something like the metal color ones, i.e. like Raptors, where they have that sort of gold sheen to them, that's very difficult to pull off, and everything else. And a couple of the guys have mentioned about food coloring. That you can mix food colouring into your clear coat and then dip it and do it that way, and you can build up the colours. But when you're talking those metallic colours like F22s have, I don't think you can do it. I think you're going to either have it all or nothing, because it's a metallic, which means it's either going to be solid or nothing. You're not going to make a translucent metallic colour. And again, you know, what colours to do, when you look at them, they tend to have that sort of, you get 2 types of sort of tinting. The smoked look, which, okay, that's easier because Tamiya do smoke. I don't know what it is. What's their clear smoke? X what?
26 or something?
No, X19.
19. Yeah.
Which is their smoke. And then obviously you got their other colours like, you know, X24 up to X27, you know, of orange, red and yellow. You know, you can mix those colours together to get that type of thing, and then thin it, get a good mix, make sure it's perfect. So always do it in a separate cup so you can see it. You don't want any stringy bits in it, you don't want any, flecks and things in there. It's got to be a perfect mix. Spray it, then dip it afterwards, and then that way you have a tinted canopy. But does it give those colours you want? Because when you look at modern aircraft, F-16s, they have that radar absorbent stuff that's sort of anti-reflective, and it's like almost, it's not like the goldy one off the Raptors, but it is that sort of funny colour that it has, almost like a bronzy colour. It's very difficult to do it. That's why when I did my F-16, it comes with a tinted in that bronze tint, which the closest thing to it would be like using a smoke, but it's its own colour, if you know what I mean. It's like a bronze colour. So it's very difficult to try and recreate it. But I know a lot of people have said about food colouring, but it's just something I've never attempted.
Yeah, when I did on the Dolphin, I used self-leveling thinners.
Yeah.
And that worked a treat. I tried thinning it with clear, you name it, we tried it. But the one in the end I found was self-leveling thinners did an amazing job. But if it's some of your modern fighters, have a look, because I know AFV Club, they did a lot of the gold tinted canopies as aftermarket that you can buy. I think somebody else did as well, so it's worth nipping out and getting one of them if you can.
Which are these, which aren't exactly what you think though, because they have a sort of pearlescent look to them, and all the rest of it, and that's what you can do. And to be honest, I have got them. They actually do, and I can read it off here. They do it for the F-16 in 32nd. They do it for the Hobby Boss Hornet in 48th. They do it for the Hobby Boss A10 in 48th. They also do it for the Trumpeter 32nds, Echo and Foxtrot F-18s as well. But these are the ones. Again, the only trouble is, and it mentions it actually here as well, they have a center seam, so you have to sand that out, which is a little bit of a problem. Because obviously you don't want to wreck this finish that it's actually got. It's got a beautiful finish, and then they end up, technically putting a center seam through the middle, which is a little bit disheartening when you've got to get rid of that and make it look perfect. Okay, so, but yeah, you can go down that route if you wanted to. But again, it's just that nobody does that sort of color. I think you could start with something like an orange and mix it with smoke to get that type of color as well if you wanted to. But we say self-leveling thinners, it worked for us perfectly, so.
To be honest, it probably look better without. It probably look better without than trying to bodge something together.
Well, the trouble is when you're doing a canopy, it's like one-time thing, isn't it? If you bodge it, you're stuffed. That's the only trouble to it. He also says, and the other tangent completely, I managed to pick up my first armour at Telford. Thanks, Steve. The plan to use the metal tracks for both the T90 and the Terminator, both by Meng. I have sourced the T90 track, but can either of you confirm the tracks for the Terminator? I think it's based on the T72 chassis. I'm guessing they do the ones to go for. Which is the best burnishing fluid? I've used a quick search, and the one that came up was the AK. Thanks for the advance deck. Right, okay, so what was the T72? Was it the Terminator's based off the T72?
I believe it's based on the BMPT, which, so you need to find tracks for a BMPT. Is it T70? I can't remember. Where's my book? In my book. We'll have a look.
To be honest, I didn't have much trouble with their tracks. The tracks actually for the Terminator weren't too bad at all. They worked quite nicely. I was quite impressed with that one. So yes. As for burnishing fluid, yes, AK do it. Just make sure you get the right one. Don't get the photo etch burnishing fluid though. Get the proper one, the full strength version. It did do it, and it did it very well. It just took forever. Leave it in soak for like 3 weeks, and you have lovely burnished fluid, because it's a mild version of, instead of being like a weak acid.
Yeah, it's based on the BMP, I believe.
Steve in Dictionary Corner this week.
Should really have just googled it, but I've got my book. No, it's the BM, yeah, BMP. It's based on. Just double check on the old interweb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the BMPT Terminator. Let's have a look what it says about it. Right. BMPT is built on the chassis of the T-72 main battle tank, which is used, yeah. So it's yeah, but this, you're probably better going for the later T-72 ones. The problem is, sometimes they have different, especially if you're going down the through-wheel track with Russian tracks, it's matching it up to get the sprocket with the right tracks for the tank that you're building, because they have different tracks. Like for the T-72, you can either have, might be using the T-64 or some tracks on it, and later ones might be using the T-8, you know, these different track types. So it's a bit of a minefield. Let's see if I can find it. I'll have a look, Phil, if you want to move on.
Okay, there we go. We'll come to that one. So yeah, as to the burnishing fluid, that's what you want. You just want burnishing fluid. Just want the one for tracks. AK do it, so no problem with that. Simon says, "Hi guys. First thing, the sound is almost okay. There's an echo from time to time. Don't know where that's coming from. Now to business. Tamiya Extra Thing versus Tamiya S. I had a problem with my TIE Fighter. I first painted cockpit parts and glued them together because they were different colours. I used Mr. S to do it. Now I have a problem. The TIE Fighter is almost ready and the part is loose inside. I have a problem. Sorry, whose TIE Fighter was it? Did you say? No. I have the premium Star Wars themed battle. My impressions is that Mr. S is not as aggressive against paint as I'd like. The Tamiya thin is better in such situations, or should I use a PVA or super glue? I wanted to use to attach painted parts. To be honest, I don't use Cement S. I don't. It does the same thing, but just not quite as well as Extra Thin. The reason I used Tamiya S because I couldn't get hold of Extra Thin back in the day, and then one of our members kindly brought me back a case from Hong Kong. And we did it, and I was good to go for a few years. But that's why I ended up using the Mr. S stuff. The Mr. S stuff I don't think is as aggressive as Extra Thin. So that may be the problem, that it didn't etch its way through the paint. The nice thing I like about using Extra Thin is if it is a part and I'll just put it in, touch it, I don't brush it, you touch it, the paint might wrinkle up into its bits and pieces, but it welds in and then the paint sort of sets back onto it and you get no, mark left over whatsoever. When I attach pylons or parts to the outside of a plane, it's literally poke it in the hole, dab of glue, just to touch it, capillary action, let it dip off, it melts, it goes crinkly, it looks horrible, but it sets and it dries back and it's perfect. And I do it that way. As for PVA glue, the only trouble with using PVA glue is that it can move and then dries after you've got it all together. It's all wonky or something else like that. And then super glue is obviously you might get a little bit of fogging. So what can happen is that you put the super glue in, you put it in, you might get a little bit of whiteness around it, around the edges as it dries and stuff like that can happen. So that is the only trouble. Generally though, what I tend to do is if you're using like Mr. S and you're worried about the part, just give it a little wiggle so it sort of melts, because all it's doing is melting the plastic together, and then you give it a little bit of a wiggle and then it's going to grip really well. But it maybe just sat on top and now it's dropped out. It maybe you've just been a little bit unfortunate with it, because technically Mr. Cement S isn't bad. It's just not quite as aggressive as Tamiya Extra Thin, and I think Tamiya Extra Thin, it just seems to dry a little bit better and gives me less problems, shall we say. You ever used Mr. S?
Yeah, I prefer Tamiya over it, definitely. I've still got some in my drawer, but it'll probably stay there and only come out as an emergency.
Yeah.
But going back to the tracks, Fru will do its set ATL, 11 for the T72, and luckily that comes with 2 sprocket wheels as well, so it should fit. I'll just double check to make sure there ain't one for the BMP. No, yeah, go for that. Go for that set, ATM 11. You should be fine.
Okay, you'll be fine. Okay, Robert says, we have some sound problems, Phil. We're getting intermittent echo. I can't understand where the echo's coming from then. The only place it can come from is Steve, technically, but he's got his earpiece in as well, so...
Yeah.
Because we don't have any speakers on in here, you see. It's all literally, we have our little earpieces, so I can't understand where the echo's coming from. It may be just be an internet thing with that. As I say, I'll check it back afterwards, and we'll see if we can nail down some of these sound problems we've been having of recent. Good afternoon, gents. I'm currently working on the Roden 172nd HE111C. I've never had such a bad kit. I'll make something of it, but the question came to mind: have either of you worked on a kit so bad you've actually made you quit or squint? Probably squint. Yeah, well, mine, as I say, was that one kit I did many years ago, which was the what's it called? Who makes it? God, I haven't done it for years. I did a Hawkeye in resin made by, I can't remember. It's the only time you could ever make a 1/48 scale Hawkeye. It was in this company. Can't remember they are now. God. See, it's one of those things, you know, when you've had a bad experience and your mind removes it from you.
Yeah, blocks it out.
It's collar air, isn't it? It's just come back to me, that's it. So yes, that's it. That was the one that made me squint. It was a nightmare from start to finish. Not only was it crap in every level that I've ever built a kit, every time you sort of got on and you think, okay, well, we've got it together now, and then we went to rescribe it, and it was awful because it was like trying to rescribe an aero bar. It just kept dropping in, and some of the holes are the size of peas. To the point where I put it on its undercarriage, because it comes with white metal undercarriage, and because of the weight of the entire thing, it's weighed over 2 kilos. The white metal undercarriage just bent. It just absolutely bent. So I ended up having to put clear acrylic rod underneath it as a stand to take the weight off the gear, because the gear couldn't take it. So yeah, that was the worst kit I've done, but it was a commission, so you have to sort of mow through with it. So yes. Steve, what was yours?
No, I remember doing the Trumpeters mid 29, the one at 32nd, and it was just awful. And all the back were totally wrong. You know, instead of having all the nice shapes, it was just square. It were awful kit. Absolutely terrible. So I ended up giving out all weapons and bits I didn't use to, I think it sent it to Jonas. That was terrible. But yeah, no, there's no, I don't know. That's up there, but there are, I know I've got something stashed which I won't touch. One I remember getting rid of the Edard, is it the Mirage 2000? In fact, I sent it over to Hans. That is an awful kit. Just looking at it, it just frightens you. The plastic's terrible, but then all the Edard bits are nice. It's just, you know. But no, I haven't made it, you know, I haven't built anything that's been that really horrendous. You know, so cool. There's always time. This time, I'm sure one will sneak away.
It depends though, if you're going to be sort of, you know, push through and get through it all, or you just say, yeah, I'll leave that to a side for a bit and never touch it again. That's the trouble. Okay, Reece says, afternoon lads, just a bit of a thank you for Phil. I got my wash set the other day in the post, and I love to use them. So thank you, Phil, for such a brilliant wash. No problem at all. Question for Steve. I was looking at the accurate, I think he means armour Humber Pig for the Northern Ireland roadblock diorama. Do you know where I can get the British soldiers in 1/35th scale for that time scale?
Do accurate armour do them as well?
I don't know.
They're the only ones I could think that do it. Let's have a look on Accurate Armour's site, because they do an extensive range of British figures.
Right, do that. I'm just going to do something.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm just going to go off there for a second. Hold on.
He's gone. Right. Let's have a look at accurate arms.
Right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Oh, that's all right then. I'm just wondering if the mic above me is playing up. See, it is on focused as well. It's not on 360 mode. Try that, everyone. If so, we'll dump that mic up there and we'll get a new one sorted.
No, they don't. Accurate Armour do an extensive range of figures, but none in the. I know which one it means with the riot gear.
Yeah.
So no, I wouldn't know off the top of my head. To be honest, I'd probably just use maybe just. You see, if he's wanting to do the actual roadblock, that's where the problem starts. Because obviously, you could just get a figure set to go into the ferret itself. But for the roadblock, there's none, you see. Somebody might do them. I just couldn't tell you off the top of my head who would.
Oh, right. He says, also, what do you guys do with your empty boxes? Do you cut out the pictures and keep them with your instructions? I always keep my instructions. I have a library of freaking instructions now, but all boxes, I must admit, go to recycling.
Yeah, mine get binned. They kind of hang around in me cave for ages. Say, oh, I'll take them bits out of pieces, and then it'll take me about 6 months later. I'll get rid of them. Just use them. It's just laziness, really. I've just cleared a load out. I tend to keep the instructions, and I also keep certain parts, like from aircraft. I'll keep all the different antenna blades and pitot tubes, stuff like that. Things that you know that could come in handy. Any clear lenses that are left, clear parts. With armour, again, save the lenses, any aerial mounts, other little bits and pieces that you know you've probably got to use. I tend to snip a lot of it off the sprue and put in a little box or something. But no, I'm not one of these that'll keep their old boxes and cut the lid off. They just get thrown out. I tend to move them. I just throw them, put them back, kitchen door, and after what happens, then I don't know. I just kind of people take it too big for me.
No, but with me, I tend to keep all the weapons and stuff like that. I tend to keep all the photo etch I don't use, so it's in my scratch drawer behind me. But generally, everything else, sprue gets chopped up, goes out for recycling now, so now I know they take it. And then, everything else tends to be just into recycling. But the instructions I keep, I've got a couple of big folders just full of instructions that I've collected over the years and done it like that. So, yeah. Cool. Okay. The sound seems to be warbling a bit. Maybe it's a dodgy connection. It seems like you're shouting down the wall of a church hall. Right. Okay. Well, I've changed over mic. Perhaps the mic is on its way out, or whatever's up with that one. So there we go. As of like 10:2, let me know how you're hearing it now. Right. Also, I've just finished my first model in about 10 years. I painted it as normal. Put down Tamiya Clear X22 on top of the paint, ready for the decals, which went on fine. After that, I prepped for the weathering. I put down Clear XF86 flat, which was a nightmare to get the weathering off. It took ages to rub off. And the flat coat with the raised rivet details ended up shredding the kitchen roll and leaving a very fine hairs of fluff all over the model. Should I have used another coat of X22 on top of the decals or semi-gloss X35 for the weathering? I'm using your washes and thinned oil paint. Well, I hope not together. Do you think using XF86 was correct? But I'm sure I remember you saying videos that if you want a flatter coat for your weathering to grip onto, but don't think it's meant to be that grippy. I would upload a pic, but I'm at work listening to you and watching on the sly. Right, well, lots of variables in that one. One is obviously, it depends how rough your texture is. If your texture is literally like sandpaper, then the wash is never going to come off. It's going to get gripped in there purely because you wipe it away. Okay, so that's what happens. There's a couple of little techniques you can do, and that is to sand it lightly. You go a very fine sanding sponge, just take the tops of the edges off, and that way the wash, you can get down into it then and draw it and get it all the way out. But the way you're describing about it, if it's ripping up your tissue and leaving it all over the surface, it looks like the surface was far too flat. And that's what the trouble was. And obviously if you've got raised detail and stuff like that, that's where the problem is amongst it. The other thing as well is with the wash, take it off with warm water. You'll find it will come away a lot easier. It literally just flows off of it with warm water. Cold water, it tends to hold and grip a lot more. So with that one, but it says you're using oils as well. And thinned oil paints. As I say, oils are probably going to have the same trouble. They're going to soak into that texture and then grip on there. The chances are you're probably better off going with a satin. If I've got something with lots of raised details, I would probably go in there with a satin coat rather than go in there with something like a flat, purely because it's going to be difficult enough to get it off already, let alone when it's bad texture, because that all the recesses and everything amongst it is just going to make it go on. It's a little bit like when we did this one. Down on here, we went straight over the paint, which is flat, and then put the wash onto it. So it wasn't going to come off easily without a fight, but then we wanted it to stay on there to give us sort of texture over this. But then what I did was literally just go around with a sanding sponge right the way all over this thing, took the edges off it, wiped it away, and then we had it. A little bit too strong, so we go over this one again with a few coats of very, very heavily thinned grey, just to knock it all back and make it all sort of look normal, okay, and everything else like that. But it is that thing. Sometimes it will get caught in that texture. If it's caught in that texture, there's not a lot you can do with it. But that's the variable, because some people's flat coats aren't as, if you're looking at it like, sandpaper, some people's is really rough. You can almost feel it when you're touching it. Other people's flat, still flat, but it's very smooth. Obviously the smooth one, it'll always come away a lot easier. But instead, whip around it with a sanding sponge will do the trick, or just go over it with a sponge with warm water, and you can absorb it out of your panel lines and out of everything then as you work your way around it. But sponges work sometimes a little bit better.
Right, a couple of things, Phil. First of all, Andy says you're very quiet.
Right.
And second, if he's using oil wash, always put it over a satin, if not gloss, almost gloss colour. With oil paints, it's good to get, obviously if it's satin, it'll stick in there and grip it, which is what you're after, but the more towards the gloss side, it means you can move the oil paint around a lot better, and then you can get it around all the details, leave a thin layer over it. So always go for satin, bordering on gloss for oil paint and washes.
Right, okay. Now, am I louder now? Because I've just turned up my mics.
Text us, Andy, Phil. Yeah. You sound the same to me, but hopefully Andy, if he's still watching, will text us to let us know.
Yeah. Okay, so... And we've got on there from Neil. Hi Phil, talking of paint racks, did you build your own or buy it from somewhere? I used a what? A segment cutlery drawer by 90 degrees. Oh, right. No, I built mine. I think I was the first person to do it. I had mine just because I had no room whatsoever, and it's sort of everyone had one the next week. I think I did a video on it back in the day. That would have been around about 2006, 2007 I did that. About 10 years I've had that one now. It was brown before, and then I painted it when we came in here because I had some black paint left over from doing these cupboards. So I gave it a coat of paint just to cheer it up. Okay, Steve says, Phil, do you know what wattage the new light that you recently mounted above the spray booth? They are, crikey, you're blind. What wattage? What, 10? They're 10 watt units, they are. They're LED 10 watt ones on those. And Malcolm says, "Hi chaps, where can I get the photo etch cockpit for the Rebel 172nd A400 Grizzly? I've got the kit and the RF decals to turn it into an Atlas and plan to do it in flight in a steep banking angle. I believe that there is a photo etch that provides the cockpit with the wind buffer for the size for the paratrooper exit. The bit that Tom Cruise held on to in Mission Impossible. eBay and Hannants are coming up negative. Any ideas?" Pass. I must admit, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't realise it did. And if Hannants haven't got it, I would question that.
Only people I could think of do one is someone like CMK or Profit Modeler.
Yeah.
But if you find out, let us know. But then again, would you see a full edge cockpit through the glass?
No, but I can understand him saying about the wind buffer thing for the cockpit for the paratrooper exit. It'd be a nice touch on that. Say cockpit, well, you're never going to see it, are you? Even in that scale, it's going to be very hard to see in there from any angle.
But yeah, if you find out, Malcolm, let us know, because me and Phil could do with it for our one.
Yeah.
Well, the one where I got to have where in-flight engines going, lights flashing, door drops, cargo comes out, parachute deploys. That's
right. Okay. What's mine?
No, that's a bit too
covers on.
Deep maintenance.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Jan says, "Howdy lads. I'm looking for a gloss varnish, Tamiya, Guns, MOP or MIG. Personal choice for me, if you're looking for a gloss varnish, I would probably go down the MRP route if you're thinking lacquers. If you want something a little bit less smelly, I'd go Tamiya. But like Steve was pointing out before, the Guzzi stuff's quite nice. That works really well. That he had, which is this stuff. Which is this one. It's nice stuff, does the trick, although mine's definitely going yellow. Look at this. Perhaps it's because it's sitting under LED lights, but you look at mine, it's definitely changing colour. It doesn't look as bad on camera, but trust me, this has definitely got a yellowy tint to it. Probably because I can look at it from underneath. When you look up at this stuff from underneath, it's yellow.
I've just lost mine.
So that is a nice one as well. So personal choice, really. If whatever paint you're used to using, if you're used to using Tamiya, I'd stick with Tamiya. If you're used to using the gun stuff, then obviously go with that. MRP, if you've got the range. I haven't got their gloss, but I imagine it would be really nice. I must admit, I need to put in a little bit like that, although I'll probably wait till after Christmas now. MIG stuff, I can't comment. I've never used their stuff. Or any of their clears anyway, so yeah. But don't forget, I've been using the old clear coat, which wherever it's gone. Where is my clear coat? That's weird. Where's
the American clear is really good, yeah.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I prefer a lacquer-based one because it's a lot harder and you can polish it. Any imperfections you can polish out of it.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
It depends what type of gloss coat you want. If you're doing an aircraft and you just in like 48 scale and you want a glossy effect, I probably wouldn't do that in the lacquer route because the lacquer route is just too shiny. You need a little bit of scale effect. But if you want something like a mirror, like if you're doing a car, then I'll go down the lacquer route and I'll do it that way. But this stuff, to be honest, this is what I did the Dolphin in, which is sat over there sparkling in all the studio lights, and it works an absolute trick. So I must admit, this stuff works really, really well, and you can build it up in layer, and because of what it is, it's sort of an ammonia and all of that, it eats into itself and it gives you, with every coat, a deeper luster. Okay, so you put your first coat down, it's always going to be a little problematic. Don't worry too much. Second coat gets in, you get a nice level playing field with it all. It all levels itself out, it eats into itself. Third and fourth coats, then you start to build up that deep gloss look to your model and all the rest of it. And to be honest, it's exactly what I did to the actual the Dolphin. And I went over the clear parts with it. So I went all over the glass, all over the windows and everything with it as well. And although it goes a bit milky colour, it will dry back crystal clear. And you can do it just like that. So I must admit, I do like that. So for acrylic glossing, I tend to use this stuff, the Floor Care, which is really nice for it.
I've got to say, going back to burnishing fluids, Phil, I forgot about that. That Ushi do a bottle.
Oh right, yeah, the usual stuff.
Yeah, and there's also a company called Black in it, but you can get this from HM Hobbies. Do it.
Yeah.
Merrick, he sells it. That's a really good one. But I forget the. I'm sure it all originates from the. They use it in on to blacken shotguns to give that blue effect. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what it's supposed to be, and everybody's just redone it. So if you know somebody who is an armourer, works in shots, just see if he's got any, or if someone try it.
Definitely. Right, okay. Chris says, me again. My dad was an engine mechanic, I presume, with 92 Squadron in the late 60s. I remember the Lightning like it was yesterday. I have the 148 Airfix kit. I'm really apprehensive about building it, as I want to do it in the silver with the blue scheme. Is that the blue top it had? One of them's got the blue top, isn't it? I've watched your previous build, but I'd really like a new version to give me some guidance. Well, yeah, might get one. Which version have I did? Mine's the F2, isn't it? Which kit have I got? I've got that's the F2A. Hold on, because I have got all the different types here. Yeah, that can't be the F2. I've got an F, whichever one that one is, the one with the round tail. I've got the F6 up there, the F2A and F6 kits up there as well. So of Airfix. And to be honest, I've got a 32nd Trumpy one as well. Although it's not very nice, if we're honest. I probably wouldn't do that one. I'll do the 48th one.
I've still got the Eddard one.
Yeah, the Eddard one's nice. One with all the bits and pieces in it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind building that.
Still, as I always say, it's the best kit Airfix did. Then they went bust, didn't they? And went to the wall, and then they got built out by thingy-majig, Hornby, wasn't it? Took them, but it was the last genuine Airfix kit, wasn't it? Before they got, I think, bought out by Hornby. Hard says, just letting you know, I'm watching you guys live and have no sound issues across the pond. Well, that was interesting, because he did that 16 minutes ago before I changed the mic. So it might be regional, this echo problem, so not sure. Okay, Mark says, hi guys, sound is fine after you turn to the other mic as of 15:46. Oh, right, okay. I'm thinking, guys, that mic might be crap. So what will happen, it will then be disconnected after the show and binned. I've got a question. I've just received your washes. Great service, thanks as always. You're welcome for the plug. I'm going to put the washers on the 132nd F15E painted in XF24. Which wash would you recommend? Just one more would be priming with Mr. Surfacer 100 in option. Right, okay, so for the wash, personally, on that colour, just go dark dirt. Pure and simple dark dirt. The dark dirt will give you a good contrast against a dark grey, purely because it has that sort of griminess of brown. Certain colours it looks very dark, but when you put it onto dark grey, it looks slightly browny. So it is that way of doing it. But don't go in there with greys and that, because it will look awful. Okay, so yeah, straight in with the dark dirt. If you're finding it's not quite to your liking, go over the top with black once you've tried it. Okay, because then the black will go into the dark dirt and it will give you a darker dark dirt bordering on the black. So it just depends if you like that sort of browniness to it or you want more of a black. Okay, but it's a very dark dirt. Then he said about, would you prime with Mr. Surfacer 100 be an option? Yes, that's what I did for years. That and 1500 was it? No, sorry, 1200 I used to use, because they do the 500, the 1000 and the 1200. I used to use the 1200. Thing is though, if you get the silly string effect, like Steve knows well, it means you haven't thinned it enough. Okay, so you need to add a bit more thinners to it, otherwise you get like silly string comes out at the end, so like cobwebbing. So
yeah, I'd mix it and get yourself some little mixing pots and mix it there, and put into your airbrush.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you spray it neat, if you put 500, quick tip for the kids for Halloween, I did do it this year, I remembered it, but if you put 500 neat into your airbrush, maximum air pressure, and just spray it, it'll come out like a cobweb. It's great for doing Halloween. Probably ruin your paintwork it sticks to, but it looks good. Thanks for all your help and inspiration. Sound is now good after turning off the other mic. Right, okay. That's it, Phil. You've gone about half down in volume. I've turned it up a bit now, so hopefully you'll be okay. Occasional echo I'm hearing sounds like you get when there's an issue with compression bandwidth. Perhaps that's what it is when you're doing the old voice over the internet. Probably not your end. Right, okay. Still reverb on your audio, Phil. Okay, what it is, I'll have a look into the reverb and see what it's picking up and go from there. I think what we do, we might have an evening, guys, and I'll get you all on and you can just give me feedback direct on the sound and how it's looking and sounding. Okay.
Yeah, that could be an idea, or just faff around anytime. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
I can jump on with you, you can do it on your own, do it with me for testing as well. And
yeah, well, the trouble is when we test, we get a different version to what they're hearing. That's the trouble.
So am I hearing you through Skype? That's the problem.
I know, you've got me direct from Skype, where they're getting it via the software that's doing all this in the background. So, okay, Anthony then mentions about doing the flat coats. He's saying Tamiya X22 with Gunzy self-leveling thinners, 2 misty coats followed by 2 wet coats for a good shine. Secret, if you get a little gritty or seems not as smooth as some, give it a blast with straight leveling thinners. Yeah, we recommended that before. We like that technique. Okay, Chris says, afternoon gents, I didn't hear if you answered the Terminator metal track question for the T72, but it actually uses the T90 double pin tracks. You can either use the Flory T90 tracks, the ALT156, or the Easy Metal EM35008. Metal tracks are designed to fit the main kit. Right?
I have to try some of them Easy Metal links.
Do you know what? For the first time, I've just had reverb from you, Steve. It must be an internet thing, because you were standing into echo mode then, because even I had an echo then. So there we go. Tom, who we could have done with Tom a couple of shows back, because we had lots of questions about the old Globemaster, Atlas. And knowing he built it too, we did mention you, Tom, and said about it. He says, hi guys, as you know, I did 5 of the A400Ms for Airbus Industries. It was a chap who commissioned them that pointed out the lack of the Parador air scream option by Revel. To my knowledge, there isn't any aftermarket available yet. I just scratched them from a thin piece of card and they look convincing enough. So there we go, that's Tom. Thank you, Tom. About the several empty boxes, this is from Krista. From all the kits you build, I save them up and use them on other builds like jerry cans, ammos, cans, decals. For the boxes, I cut off one of the short sides of the lids and throw away the rest. Then I have every info in need about the kit, the size, type, manufacturer, etc. This way I can go back years later and see what type of kit, and it helps me from buying doubles. That's a good idea. Okay, Robert says, this is one I was on about the A400, and he's put a link up to Atlantics Online. Don't know if you can look at that link, Steve. I don't click it. I'll get told off.
Yeah, you never know where it ended up. Oh, right, yeah, it's... Yeah, there's a set for the Revel 4 wedge parts, the Airbus A400M. Yeah, it's colour interior. Who makes it? Sorry, sold out. We regret this product is no longer available. Well, that's no good.
Always, yeah, always the way. Well done. Okay, so Steve says... sorry, go on.
Edhard made the photo wedge. It's got Revel up in the corner, so...
I wonder if Edhard...
So unless I reckon it sounded it could well have been Revel who brought out this photo wedge set. I don't know. With having Revel on there as well. Yeah, we'll have to have a look into that.
Yeah. Right, Steve says, hi guys, me again. Thank you very much for the heads up on the Terminator tracks. I was a little confused by all the cross references on the net. On the subject of worst kit ever, how spooky is that from Steve? I'm just making the Edard Mirage 2000. Whose kit was it? Was it the Italeri one in it?
I don't know, but they needed shooting. Whoever made it.
I wonder if it's the Iski one. I don't know whose kit was the original in it. It certainly wouldn't be Edard, so yeah.
The plastic's terrible.
Oh, right, not sure what they were smoking in the production department when they injected it. Most likely 2 different moulds that have never used so much perfect plastic putty. I won't let it beat me though, but it's the worst kit ever. Steve.
But yeah, Hans, I passed it over, sent it to Hans.
Oh, right.
But like I say, the day calls, the instruction, all Edard side of it's just brilliant.
Right, okay, so I don't know if anybody did post up a question yesterday in here. Let me stop that before it starts playing.
You might want to check your Facebook as well. Is that what you're doing? Yeah.
I'm just checking this one as well here. Okay, got it. Get out of the way. Okay, because we had a question in here. James said from the YouTube, great show, a newbie to airbrushing here. What are some of the very basics but tips for airbrushing? Also, what are your views on the Hattigat paints? Offered a few sets and would like to know your views on them. Okay, so airbrushing is a big old thing. It's not something where you can just do it for 10 minutes and get the hang of it. Okay, airbrushing, you need to spend a little bit of time and commitment, okay, of learning it and understanding what it is. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, and I'm not just doing this to flog, the site, but our site, we have a huge selection of videos on this said thing. So if I just take you over here, okay, but if you go a member, if you just go over here and go into the tutorial section, which no doubt this is going to have a, oh no, okay, and then down here we've got in here basic airbrushing. All right, so if you click in there, it will come up and ask you for your jobby. We'll just go yes, come on, let's get on with it. Okay, and then down in here we've got videos, which is the basics of airbrushing. That basically talks about how an airbrush actually works, and just literally almost baby steps about setting up your airbrush and how you do it and everything else like that. Then we talk about basically airbrushing, laying down paint, as simple as that, and going through the different ways of doing it as well, okay, and the various things. Then we go in there to basically talking about cleaning it up. Then in this one we talk about, I think it's mixing up your paints, putting down paints, pre-shading, masking, the differences between hard edge camo, soft edge camo, and different camo patterns. Then we've got various ones that go on. This video shows setting up some simple exercises, everything else, cleaning out your airbrush, different freehand camo, how to do that, metal finishes, all about that. We do airbrush a model kit from start to finish, and then we've got other videos down here like doing full strip down cleaning of airbrushes, replacing seal sets, nozzles, needles. Then we've got things like tips, mixing up your paint brushes, and mixing up paints and everything else. When airbrushes go wrong down here, so that's literally talking about when you have problems with, obviously usual things like spitting and stopping and starting, and we're trying to find out what it is. But my basic thing is, if you're not a member, is literally mix up some paint, do Tamiya paints if you've got some, 50-50 mix. Get yourself a piece of plastic card, grab yourself a piece like this, and I still do it, this is why this is here, okay, and then you spray onto this. The reason for using plastic card and not spraying it onto paper towel doesn't teach you anything. It amazes me still the amount of reviewers out there who grab a piece of paper and spray onto it. Well, that doesn't tell you anything about an airbrush at all. It doesn't tell you how it's working, because the paper just absorbs everything you do. If you're putting it onto a hard surface like plastic, you can see exactly how it's reacting, okay, and it is just that little thing, listening to your airbrush. If it sounds like it's struggling, i.e. is it like crackling, is it sort of making funny noises, is it like pulsing, as in it's like, you know, the airflow isn't just constant air, okay, then the chances are your paint is a little bit thick, so you might just need to either thin your paint a little bit or up your air pressure. Okay, if you're in a situation where you get big clouds of, you know, paint in the air, your air pressure is way too high, it's atomizing, it's hitting your model, instead of sticking, it's bouncing off. Okay, so your air pressure is far too high and you need to move closer to your model, okay, and things like that. So it's just that thing of learning all about it and learning why it's doing certain things, okay. You know, people often ask me questions like, why does my airbrush stop and start? 99% of the time it's your paint mix. Your paint mix isn't a nice mix, i.e. it's probably too thick, or it's got bits in it, the paint's not very nice, and everything else like that. So that is the thing to it. So again, it's a huge step, lots of little baby steps, and I can get you there really quickly. Look, if you want to be tight about it, subscribe for a month, watch the videos, grab them, scrape them off the site, and you'll be good to go, and do it that way, because it's very hard to explain in a quick thing on how to airbrush. But I have guys here, and I used to teach, we used to do weekends, one weekend of every month, 2-day things, seminars, and I had guys here who've never picked up an airbrush or have fought with an airbrush, and I can get them going with, by the time they all left, okay, they'd all be proficient airbrushers, purely because it's understanding why it's doing it, and that's what I try and teach in those. As for the paints, the half-hour paints, sorry, I haven't used them. That's the thing. I've seen them. I think they're very similar to MIG stuff and stuff like that. They seem to be quite thin. So you want to, again, lower your air pressure when you're spraying them, moving a little bit closer, light coats, and just build it up slowly. Sorry, Steve, you were saying?
Yeah, it's like when first airbrush I got with a really crap Badger thing. Didn't have a clue about it. Couldn't get grip, so I got a eye water, and then when I came on this site, I still had no idea that you're supposed to how to take an airbrush apart, how to clean it properly, how to use it properly. So I came up and found this site via the wash, because I've been after a wash for ages. But what I did, first thing I did was I went out and bought a H&S airbrush, and then I just copied everything you did. I didn't have like I said, I had no idea. I hadn't even put filler on the model before I joined this site. I didn't even know you're supposed to seal decals in with clear. I was absolutely terrible. And it's just by following videos that are straightforward and cover everything that you learn. It's a matter of watching somebody who, obviously Phil's got a good knack at telling you how, teaching you how to do stuff, so that helped. And then just practice. But you'll find it's all down to your paint mix and your air pressure. Once you've got them two sorted, and you can tell by just listening to what your airbrush is doing, you'll be okay. But yeah, for £3, you'd be daft. Just like Phil says, just even for 1 month, come on board and watch, and you'll learn, because a lot of airbrushes are all work the same way, so you'll learn how to strip down an airbrush through to how to spray and different problem solving. So it's well worth your £3, the best £3 you ever spend, and then you'll probably find out how you like the site and you'll stay. That's another thing, but yeah, definitely. But like I said, I had no idea how to airbrush. Like I said, I didn't even filler. Don't ask me how you were supposed to use that. Bloody hell, I were even using milliput as a filler, because that's what somebody had read in the magazine. You know, I've been going through all the magazines and they all tell you, and what you soon learn is a load of crap, because some of the people who at the time were writing, 8-9 years ago, they were using such old-fashioned methods and not using modern stuff, modern fillers, stuff like that, and you pick up really bad habits from them. So yeah, it's well worth finding somebody. Obviously you watch these shows, so obviously you trust what Phil's saying, you listen to him, so it's well worth. It's better going to a site where people pay. You'll go learn a lot more than from a site where people don't and just put any old rubbish down or don't fully explain what's going on.
Yeah.
So I expect a nice tenner in my Christmas card, Phil.
Oh, okay. Again, the thing is, as I say, I'm a great believer in is that airbrushing is it's like a commitment. You know, you get guys and they paint with a brush like we all did, and when you step up to airbrushing, it's like learning an entire new thing. It's a completely different skill set. You know, with the paint, you shake up a paint, you know, you pop the lid off, you grab it on the brush, you put it down. You're doing exactly the same thing with an airbrush, don't get me wrong, it's a tool. And me going back to my, you know, I'll do my little spill as everybody who came and did the course with me, I think we had, I don't know what it was, 50 odd of you came and did the course over the 2 years we did it. But I do the thing and I say, paintbrush, airbrush, they are both exactly the same thing. They are both tools and they both do exactly what they need to do. At the end of the day, there is no difference. Don't treat this thing with kid gloves. It's a tool, it's designed to be used. Don't be frightened of it. It's not that fragile. Yes, you can bend the needle, the rest of it is fine. You're never going to break it, so don't worry about it. And as soon as you stop doing this thing of like, oh my god, it's 160 quid piece of airbrush and it's so delicate, it's not. It's no different to a paintbrush. Okay, and that is a thing. And I see guys, literally their muscles in their necks are absolutely rock solid as they're terrified about what they're doing. And I do, and I'm like, stop, relax, just enjoy it. It's supposed to be fun. You know, that's the whole point to it. There's nothing difference between these two. This puts down paint, so does this. This just makes it look more fancy than this, okay? But at the end of the day, it's a tool. Okay, it's not fragile, you're never going to break it. It's just one of those things where it just needs to learn it and need to understand what it's doing. And most of the you know, the sort of mystical part of airbrushing is just knowing what it's doing and why. And as soon as you get the fundamentals of knowing why it's doing something, why is it suddenly spidering? Well, it's too much air, it's pushing the paint out of the way instead of just letting it stick. So okay, that's turned down the air pressure a little bit. All right, and then you've got the other things, is like, oh, it's really wet. Okay, you've got too much paint going down there. Okay, so let's just back off a little bit and just not as much paint through the trigger, little pull, and doing those things. And once the mind starts to sort of understand why, as soon as you see things happening when you're airbrushing, you can react to it. So it's looking too wet, okay, cut the paint off, keep the airflow, come away, just dry it down a little bit, move off somewhere else, continue. It's not a problem, nothing's a problem. And to be honest, the beautiful thing about an airbrush is you can just overcoat it. So if it goes wrong, doesn't matter. It's like, we'll do camo pattern, first time I put it down is always a rough job. Then I'll go back in, tidy it up, then I'll go back with the original color and cut in. Okay, and do things like that with it. And it's just that thing you can correct, you can manipulate, which you can do a lot more than you can with a brush, because a brush, it's harder to hide things. Okay, but with an airbrush, you can just cover things up, little mistakes, little things, just bury it and all the rest of it, and you'll be absolutely fine. So that's the thing with it. But as I say, I know a lot of people are terrified about airbrushing, and honestly, it's not as bad as it seems. And trust me, I was the worst person learning to airbrush ever. I was a complete and utter idiot. I read up, there was no such thing as the internet, to be honest, back then, because this would have been like, you know, early 90s. And to be honest, you know, you read things and it's all this thing about, you know, paint has to be like milk and it's this and this and this, and you try it and then just it's crap, never worked. And I always vowed that I would show an easier way of doing it, and to be honest, it's probably 90% of the reason I got into this was to show people airbrushing, because that's how it started. I put up a simple little video on YouTube that's had over 700,000 looks now. And it was that thing of like, you know, oh, and I got bombarded by questions, and that's how this started, really, to show people how easy it is and how take the sort of mystical side of the hobby of airbrushing and make it mainstream, you know, and stuff like that.
But, yeah, and don't think when you first pick up an airbrush, you got to be an expert. You do have to practice, but it soon comes to you. And once you get the knack of it, then you can just keep improving how your techniques and, you know, but once you just grab the basics, you'll be sorted.
Yeah, I always describe airbrushing as like driving a manual car. I know that's like probably 3/4 of the Americans out the window now, but driving a manual car doing a hill start, because it is the balance, because it's a balance between airflow, the closeness distance you are, and the amount of paint that's going on. It's like a three-way thing. So it's like balancing the clutch to the accelerator with a handbrake, and it's just finding that sweet spot all the time. And that's all you're doing, but very quickly you will do it. And that's the other thing as well. I never, you know, the guys who have been here will know, I will never let you know what air pressure you're using, because it doesn't matter. Because when you go home, the environment will be different, and that's when things change. But it's listening to your airbrush and knowing what it's doing without looking at a gauge. And while I'm at 12 psi, It should be what it sounds like. I can hear it's running fine. It's nice. It's smooth. I've got a nice amount of paint coming out. Everything's under control. We're all good to go. Rather than saying it's like milk, it's a whatever mix it is, a 60-40 mix at 12 psi means it'll work. No, it won't. Everybody's slightly different. So that's the thing to it. So there we go.
I don't know if you find you still learn stuff as you go on, don't you? You're always finding new little things and little ways of doing it. Little, if I just try doing it this way, and it's really good and it's really enjoyable once you get into it as well.
Yeah, airbrushing, I'll tell you, it's one of those things where once you pick up the basics, you will never ever stop learning. To be honest, when I changed over to the MRP lacquers, I had to completely retrain my hands, my thought processes, my everything, because all of a sudden I'm using a paint that is completely alien to me. It's very thin, it goes everywhere. If you're too high air pressure, 90% of it goes in the air and not on your model, so you need to bring it down, you need to move in closer. Everything I do with paintwork is completely alien using that. But again, couple of models into it now, I've got the hang of it, I understand it, I know what it's doing, I know what I'm listening for, and we can move through it and move on with it like that. But generally, it's just one of those things. You need to invest a little bit of money, to be honest, into it. You're going to need a spray booth, ideally, you're going to need an airbrush, you're going to need a compressor. Okay, they're the big three if you're going to take it seriously. A spray booth just is wonderful. It just makes things easier, cleaner and nicer environment to work in. Obviously an auto stop start compressor, fantastic, you're good to go. And a quality airbrush. Don't do the Chinese knockoffs, they will fight you all the way. Spend 80 quid upwards on an airbrush, you'll be absolutely fine. And don't forget, like this particular airbrush here, which I'm throwing around, I know, is now 10 years old. I've had this thing 10 years now and it is still working as good, if not better, than the day I bought it. It will last you a lifetime. Yes, it's not quite like Trigger's brew, but it has had obviously new needles, seal sets, nozzles, but the rest of it is all original. Okay, so from that point of view, it's a wonderful piece of kit that will last you a lifetime, definitely. So it's a little bit of an investment, but when you break it up to a yearly, okay, it's cost me in that case what, £10 a year, so easy enough to do it like that. So mind you, it was a lot more expensive now.
And when you first start out, you're probably best using Tamiya and Gunzi paints, especially Tamiya, because they're so easy to spray and very forgiving. If you go with stuff like that, what is it, Hataka paints, attack paints, you're going down they can be tricky, a bit of a nightmare to spray, and to be honest, it could put you off airbrushing. That's like, because they'll fight you until you get once you know the basics and you become more experienced, then you'll know how to handle these types of paint. But I'd go for a really nice Tamiya paint because it's it's very forgiving, effortless to spray.
As I say, when I do my new setup, when we get this spray booth sorted out and I can get multiple cameras in there, because my goal is to get 3 cameras in there when I'm doing airbrushing work and a nice environment to work in for me personally. So that's the whole point of spending a fortune doing that, okay, to get it looking nice. And I can get the cameras in. What I will do is I will do a live stream and I would do my basic airbrushing, okay, as a live stream which people can watch, and you can ask me questions at the time and I'll talk you through it for a couple of hours, because I think people find that really helpful and interesting and everything else like that, and dispel a lot of the myths about airbrushes and setting up and all this rubbish that I know there's a lot of people out there who love to overcomplicate things, let's just put it that way. And everyone who knows, who's been here that I've taught, or people who watch my videos will know I will show you the easiest way and the simplest way to understand, rather than just trying to overcomplicate things and throwing figures at people and pressures and mixtures, and no, we don't do any of that. So
I've got to say, what could be an idea, Phil, if you do that, if you just concentrate on your spray booth area and have that on screen, any comments, questions people have, I can just read them out to you, and then
we'll do. We'll definitely do that.
It's more interactive. Be good that.
We'll christen the spray booth as a live stream and do it that way, I think. So that'd be a nice one. Okay, so Chris has probably gone to bed now. He says, right, sounds a lot better, and the video. Good night, gents. Off to bed now. I'm up in 5 hours. to teach the kids. Bless him. Thanks, Chris. Mark says, just me again, what percentage thinners to Mr. Surfacer 100? That's what we were talking about. There's no real proper ratio. I would start with probably a 50-50 mix with the 100 type, as I say. I was going to, yeah, just as a start, probably start with a 50-50 with a lacquer thinner and then work from there. Thing is, if it's too thin, what tends to happen is when you put it down, it goes really patchy. You get sort of dark and light bits and all the rest of it. So it's like finding that thing. But I used to do roughly a 50-50 mix with the 1200. So I'm thinking the 1000 won't be that far out. There's not a lot between them. So yes. Right. Randall says, hi Phil and Steve. Greetings from Vancouver, British Columbia. It's -7 here this AM. Quite unusual for us. Quick question. I've seen you use Mr. Metal Dark Iron on your 132nd Mustang build. Would you use the same technique on the radial for a 132nd engine? Yeah, I do like it. I do like using the buffables. It's a buffable paint. It's the Mr. Metal series, which is probably the wrong colour in my hand. Yeah, this is stainless, but these are the ones. The great thing to these got a massive heavy pigment count, so you can spray them. They make a bit of a mess, but you can spray them on or hand paint them on. Let them dry, and then you just rub them with your finger to buff up all the highlights. And you can literally, with this stuff, go from being black, like we did with the Mustang engine, and make it into like a stainless steel, because you can polish it. And you just keep polishing and polishing and polishing. And if you start to wear through, just give it another coat and then do it again, and it's absolutely great for it. So highly recommend that stuff. Do like using it. As I said, I quite fancy doing a train, the entire thing in it, and then buffing it. So I think it'll look really nice. But yeah, I would still use that technique. It's still one of my favourite techniques to use. Have a great Christmas and all the best to you and your families this new year. I think it's plus 12 outside here at the moment. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. This is global warming. Right, that is us done did. So this topic tools, we just want to lock topic. I didn't realise you could do this. I must have only learnt this the other day. Will not accept any new replies, but there's a shortcut for us. So there we go, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. To be honest, I've still got to pop up and finish off doing the editing work for this guy, because I did the final thing of it on a turntable going round. So I need to do that now and then get it uploaded so you guys have got something to watch tonight. So you can go off tonight, probably in about 2 or 3 hours time, and you can see the final part should be part 3 on the Star Destroyer, which finishes this guy off, which is absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely worth a treat. No problem at all with that one.
Talking of which, Phil, I managed to get one. Hey.
Oh, you spent
one? Yeah. Look at that's how it came from Amazon. They didn't bother putting it in a box. They just put a address label on.
They never do. Yeah, they're terrible. They put one of those barcodes on and your address straight onto the box. Luckily, it comes off all right, but I think they're tight as well. Yeah.
What happens if you're a collector? You know, but that's not got. Don't think it'd peel off.
Yeah, they do. All Amazon labels do. Just slowly. There's a joke for that, but I won't do it until the watershed.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yes, I'll be building that soon. I can't wait to build it.
It is. They're really nice. It's just the bloody sound effects are crap. The lighting's all right, but it's the sound effects are truly awful.
Oh, they're terrible. Yeah.
But look, you do have the little engines. They work quite nice, but yes. But it's all right. I think it's a pretty good thing. Really, considering all things considered with it, I think it's actually one of their little finest. I'm looking forward to doing the U-wing, to be honest. So I want to have a go at that one because I do like the look of that. So I say I've got plenty still to come over the next couple of days. But as you say, Star Destroyer will be up with you tomorrow. I've done this guy here. I'll probably be up later in the week. Star Destroyer will be up with you today. This little guy will be up with you probably on Thursday. So he's going to be out as a full build as well. So you'll be able to see how to put him together as well. So that'll be up to it's a review and build on that one. And in the meantime, hopefully the AT-AT will be almost together. I'm going to get that painted up tomorrow afternoon. So that'll all be good. And then we've got obviously more stuff coming, literally loads of it. I've got it coming out of my ears at the moment. And then on Friday as well, I might try and get the wherever it is. Where is it? Oh, hold on, I've lost it. The Victor, up for review as well. So we have that up for you for something a little bit non-sci-fi for the end of the week. So there we go. Thank you very much for this, Steve. Lovely job as always.
Yeah, no problem. That's finished now, by the way.
On? I was going to say, you got on with him?
Looking good. It's all done. So yeah, it turned out really nice, straightforward to build. Love how they put the stand coming in the back instead of the underside.
It's a nice touch that.
So that's really nice. Love building it, and I did the helmet last week, but I'm just carrying on with the Death Trooper.
Snap! Here he is.
Did you put all the ammo belts and that on yours?
Oh yeah. Mine is covered in them. Here he is.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, he's got them all on.
So I've got
the ones on the back. Yes. Let's say he goes together slightly different in his legs than that. You'll see. They've got a slightly different
I'm
way
just
of doing
doing the legs now. Yeah.
So yes, definitely very.
What
very
you
nice.
do? Are you got to paint yours? I'm going to leave the gloss, but paint the other areas just to give it a bit of depth and a bit more interest.
Yeah.
Just get the old brush out.
Yeah, I might redo his guns. I might do the firearms and things like that. But even they're pretty nice. So yeah, but the gloss black with everything else like that, he's definitely my new favourite.
The gloss black looks good, but it just needs something just to, it needs a wash and just to bring it to life, I think.
Yeah. Very, very nice. Again, fantastic. Let's say the big 112 one, 161 should be here by next Wednesday. So I've had a dispatch note from him, so I'm hoping that'll be here within the week. So that'll be good. So yes. Right, there we go, guys. I'm going to have to leave, so I'm going to have to get on with some editing now. I've got another hour's worth of editing to do, get it rendered. That'll take another hour, then we get it up to you, and it'll be up to you later, so that'll have the Star Destroyer up with you. So, till tomorrow, everybody. Happy modelling. Take care. Thank you very much for joining us, Steve.
It's a pleasure as always.
I'll do it today. Say goodbye, Steve, because I missed it last week.
Yeah, goodbye, Steve.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.